morning. Today is Friday, January 31st, 2020, and this is an agenda meeting of the Minnesota Public Utilities Commission. I'm Katie Sieben, the chair of the commission. Commissioner Valerie Means, Commissioner Matt Sugar, and Commissioner John Tuma are the other commissioners of the Utilities Commission present today. Mr. Eck, will you please introduce the agenda item?
Good morning, Madam Chair, Commissioners. The items on the Commission's agenda today are dockets CN-14-916 and PPL-15-137, and they are in the matter of the applications of Enbridge Energy Limited Partnership for a certificate of need and pipeline routing permit for the proposed Line 3 replacement project in Minnesota from the North Dakota border to the Wisconsin border. The issues in front of the Commission are whether the second revised final environmental impact statement is adequate, what action should the Commission take on the application for a certificate of need for the Line 3 replacement project, and what action should the Commission take on the application for a pipeline routing permit for the Line 3 replacement project.
Thank you, Mr. Eck. I would like to thank the Minnesota State Senate and the Majority Leader for allowing the Commission to hold our hearing in this venue. It's our intention that by holding these proceedings here, we allow more people the opportunity to be present and to provide input. We also welcome and appreciate the State Patrol, who is here today helping to keep the peace. These proceedings are available online at the PUC and the Minnesota Senate's websites, and there is an overflow room next door in room 1200. Our agenda meeting will continue to Monday and Tuesday. For this morning, there are not any procedural issues the Commission needs to address with the formal parties to the proceeding. As such, the vast majority of today will be used to hear from the public. In normal Commission agenda meetings, the opportunity for testimony by persons who are not official parties is held earlier during the development of the record, and that testimony is provided to the Commission. The thousands of public comments the Commission has received on this project are still a part of the official record for the Line 3 replacement project. At the discretion of the chair, the Commission can take direct testimony from people who are not official parties, and that is what we will do this morning or today. This hearing is occurring because of the Minnesota Court of Appeals decision on the environmental impact statement for the Line 3 project. You are welcome to comment on any aspect of the project, the environmental impact statement, the certificate of need, or the route permit. Please remain seated during these proceedings. Please do not clap or cheer following a speaker's comments, as this will result in fewer people who have the opportunity to address us. Please limit your comments to 2 minutes. Commissioners will not engage in debate or respond to comments received. When you entered this room or the overflow room, room 1200, you wrote your name on a brightly colored card. The PUC staff collected these name cards and placed them in a box and will randomly draw names from the box with the name cards from both rooms. Staff will continue adding these name cards to the box throughout the day as new people are seated in either room. Staff will display on monitors the next 5 speakers on the list. If you see your name on the list, please make your way to the dais in this room. State and spell your name for the court reporters. A staff person seated to my right will hold up a sign when there's 30 seconds remaining out of your 2 minutes, and then a stop sign if you have exceeded your time. After your name has been called and you have given your remarks, please consider leaving so that more members of the public have an opportunity to comment. Please only provide comments one time. If you need to take a break or stretch your legs, please see Commission staff for a pass if you would like to return. Commissioners will periodically take breaks as needed today, and the public comments will continue throughout. Again, so we can hear from as many people as possible. At noon, we'll take a 1-hour lunch break. Your name card from the morning will stay in the box if your name hasn't been called. The afternoon session of public comments will run from 1 p.m. until approximately 4 p.m. I'm sorry that we likely will not hear from everyone who came to address us today, but please understand we are setting these guidelines to try to run a fair and respectful public comment process. Should someone fail to follow these procedures we have established or choose to disrupt this process, we may have to cancel this comment portion of our agenda meeting. I would also like to take the time to thank the public employees who, by the nature of their job, have worked on this project and who are here today to help. Thanks for your service. Do commissioners have anything to add at this point? Commissioner Means.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning. I also want to thank those present today to offer comments on the new material and analysis contained in the second revised FEIS. Oh, I'm sorry. Is that better? Yeah. I just wanted to make an announcement that it's necessary that I depart from the public hearing today at 2 p.m. Comments are significant to this process as they help inform a decision on whether or not the revised FEIS is adequate, and every comment is very important to me. So I just wanted to advise that I will receive the comments that are provided after 2 p.m. by audio. And that's all I have, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Means. Will you please list or put up the first 5 commenters, and then they can come forward, and we will begin. Again, if you see your name on the list, you're welcome to come forward to the dais. Representative Hornstein, I see your name on the list, so you're welcome to come. And there are extra seats up here. It may take a minute if some of these names are persons in the other room.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair and members. I'm very pleased to provide a brief testimony on the revised FEIS. And Madam Chair and members, state legislators and senators, my colleagues that are here, have been following this process for many years. And in fact, on July 10th of 2017, I joined over 30 colleagues in providing testimony on the initial EIS in writing to the Department of Commerce. I felt then and I feel now that the revised FEIS is inadequate and this permit should be rejected. The comments that we provided in 2017, July of 2017, really focused on 4 areas that I still believe are significant and not adequately addressed. That is the impact of the project on water and specifically drinking water, tribal concerns, climate, and not enough discussion of a no-build alternative. Now, since then, of course, the Department of Commerce has very thoroughly addressed the no-build option, and I am still, and many of us are in strong agreement with their recommendation to you to reject the permit based on need issues. And of course, they had alternatives around capacity that should continue to be followed. But I want to really turn towards a couple of areas in the revised FEIS that have not been, I think, addressed as thoroughly. I shared with the administrative law judge my concerns about spill response. And of course, that would have been and should be addressed in Chapter 10, pages 54 to 70. But I did not see a discussion in the revised FEIS about the need for pipeline companies and industry to respond quickly to these changes. Now, in 2014, Madam Chair and members, there was significant oil transportation safety legislation before the legislature. And in that bill, we had the state, through the advice of the Pollution Control Agency, propose a new law that both pipeline and rail industry would be responding to an oil spill within an hour, that they would be contacting first responders in the affected area by phone within an hour of a spill, and that they would be on the scene within 3 hours. That was rejected by the pipeline industry, and we feel really is very, very significant and needs to be addressed. It really creates,
Representative Hornsby, I'm sorry to cut
I
you
will
off, but you've
conclude my
exceeded your
comments,
2
Madam
minutes.
Chair. So for that reason, I think that we need to, again, reject this proposal. I do not feel spill response is adequate. We have climate concerns that have increased significantly over the last couple of years. This is going to add significant greenhouse gas emissions to the environment and should be rejected also for that reason. Thank you so much, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Next person, if your name is on the list, you're welcome to come forward.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Commissioners. Carrie Robles, just as it's spelled correctly. I am a member of LIUNA Labor's Local 563 North Dakota. I am a business agent with them just over a year now, and I started in the industry 16 years ago. And this project would bring skilled labor to the area and help people get a great job. For me, I was a single mom starting out, and when I worked, I was able to buy a house and support my 2 children by myself and raise them. So it would bring skilled labor workforce for the project, and it would help have families support to be able to buy a house and bring revenue to the local businesses as well to keep them going. So thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Good morning, Madam Chair.
Good morning.
Mel Olson, and it is spelled correctly up there. Today's the 68th public meeting for what is still a common sense project that's incredibly important for Minnesota. Line 3 has answered every question, passed every test, and is supported by thousands of people across Minnesota. 2 weeks ago, more than 7,000 people, actual Minnesotans, sent in positive comments to you about the EIS. I'm confident that you'll do the right thing and allow the permitting process to move forward so workers can get ready to build this essential energy project. I can't say it enough, this is the most studied pipeline project in Minnesota's history that will create jobs, help our communities, and protect the environment. After 4 years and thousands of hours of study, environmental review, and regulatory process, it's beyond time to let the construction professionals like Ms. Robles go to work, and it's beyond time to move the Line 3 replacement project forward. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Christine Davis, and it is spelled correctly on there, so thank you. I do stakeholder outreach along Line 3. I've been meeting with people in counties along the route for almost 7 years now, hundreds of meetings. I've attended just about all the 68 public meetings as well. There is great quiet support for this line along the route, whether it be the landowners who have signed agreements with Enbridge or the folks that they know the long-term and immediate impacts of construction in their communities. It's been thoroughly studied. We've talked about that. The EIS has been deemed adequate. You've voted on it a couple of times. We've now added more information to it, and it's time to move past and move forward. As far as need, you know, there's a couple of things about moving the oil pipeline. It's safer to be under the ground. In the Twin Cities here, as a resident here, I've got kids that live right along the oil line routes on the U of M. There's a road, you know, there's a rail line that goes through there. And I've been in communities along the route too, where the communities are divided by rail, that they've got people who live on one side and hospitals on the other. And so, you know, it's much better to have that oil moving by pipeline than rail that has can be moving other commodities. So that's a certificate of need. And as far as a route permit, this route follows existing infrastructure across much of the along Minnesota. So I just wanted to say that, you know, now that all the additional information has been added in the EIS, it's time to find it adequate. It's also time to reaffirm the unanimous decision that you guys came to here in this room some time ago. So Line 3 needs to be replaced with a newer, safer pipe to protect the people and the environment here in Minnesota, just like it is currently doing in Canada and in Wisconsin right now. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Sure. My name is Janelle Natko, JanellehnaTko. First, thank you for allowing me to speak, and thank you, commissioners, for the many hours that you have put into this process. I do support Line 3. I care deeply about the environment, and I feel that Line 3 is the safest way to bring the fossil fuels into Minnesota that are going to come in one way or the other. This line reduces carbon emissions. It's been studied for 6 years and has over a 13,500-page EIS statement. It has answered all comments that have come towards it with logic and facts. I have had the opportunity to speak with many supporters along the right-of-way, and they are all very excited about it coming to their area. So I hope you can find and approve the permitting process to move forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Commissioners. Bob Tammen, Tammen. My wife, Pat, and I live in Sudan, Minnesota, home of Minnesota's first iron mine. I spent several years working in the mines. Then in the 80s, the economy just blew up, and I took jobs where I could find them, and I helped build Sherco 3, that large powerhouse down there, in about 87, I suppose. And in 93, I ended up working on the wind farms on Buffalo Ridge. And I think back on that career pattern, and sometimes I wonder, what if we would have started investing in wind power 10 years earlier, and instead of investing all that money in a coal-burning powerhouse that we're going to shut down now, what if we had thrown that money into wind power? And I know you have a difficult decision to make, but I think there's a real possibility we could be shutting down pipelines the same way we're shutting down coal-fired powerhouses. And I know the commission has their duties, but and I see a lot of my fellow building trades people here, and I know what it's like to sit there waiting for a job, but your decision is for all Minnesotans. So do you make a decision that creates jobs for a few Minnesotans, or do you make a decision that creates a better world for all Minnesotans? So do you work for a few of us or for all of us? Thank you.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. And thank you for allowing me to testify. I'm David Tomasoni, Tomassoni. I'm the state senator from representing Senate District 6, and I'm here to support the determination that the FEIS is adequate and the certificate of need and road permit should be reaffirmed. I want to thank you, the PUC, for the great work that you've done. The thorough review of the replacement of Enbridge's Line 3 is the most studied pipeline project in Minnesota history. I know it hasn't been easy, but you've done a great job. Line 3's EIS is an in-depth 13,500-page environmental study of the project that took 49 public meetings and 16 months to develop, over 4 years of regulatory and permitting review. State agency staff developed the report in accordance with the law. It's time to deem it adequate. Also, the DOC's spill modeling confirms that in the unlikely case of a spill, the Line 3 replacement project does not introduce risk to Lake Superior. The old pipeline needs replacing. Replacing old infrastructure protects our water and natural resources. The construction alone will provide hundreds of good-paying jobs with the latest and most modern technology. It just makes good sense to do so. Not doing it doesn't stop the flow of oil. It redirects it to other more unreliable forms of transport, namely trucks and trains. The La Crosse Tribune reported that in 2014, the transport of North Dakota oil via pipeline translated, quote, to roughly 97% reduction in the number of oil trains passing through La Crosse County, end of quote. The Line 3 pipeline installation will safely and efficiently transport oil. The areas on the pipeline route will be the beneficiaries of such things as jobs and property taxes. The school district in my Senate district might not exist but for the property taxes provided by pipelines. As long as the demand for the product exists, there will be a need to transport it. Line 3 will do it in the safest way possible. Once again, it's time to find the EIS adequate and reaffirm unanimous approvals of the Certificate of Need and route permit. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair and Commission, my name is Willis Madison. Thank you for the opportunity to testify. I brought to the attention of staff and would like to bring to the attention of the Commission a procedural error that taints the EIS. I attempted to file this 2 years ago, but unfortunately the information did not reach the Commission, I believe, until just this week. The procedural violation was the fact that the Enbridge was allowed to apply for and receive permits and begin project-related construction, something that is strictly prohibited by the Minnesota Environmental Policy Act. This has not been brought before you for action. I would expect that staff has brought this to you this week and would ask you to act on that because that the Environmental Protection Policy Act and guidance states that any such action prejudices the entire process. And it's not because it prejudices your decision, but it prejudices the ability of the public to have faith that the decision has not yet been made. It discourages people from spending time, money, treasure, and effort to try to add new information to the docket because the project looks like it's already approved. They've begun construction and gotten permits. That's why that's prohibited. We would like you to take decisive action on that. I appear before you today as a professional scientist, a career of 45 years with the Minnesota Environmental Policy Act, an employee, 28 years with Minnesota Pollution Control Agency, a professional ecologist. And I cannot summarize item by item the scientific errors in the EIS that you have. My colleagues and I have commented, criticized, and offered solutions to the errors in the EIS, only to find the process unresponsive to very learned professional criticisms. These criticisms you never see because of the process you have, the voluminous document you cannot read. I cannot read it. And so the errors are there. We would like an opportunity to present the source of those errors by a panel of peer-reviewed experts that will definitely expose them and allow you to make decisions on a more valid document. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Robert L. Shaw, S-H-A-W. I've worked for Local 49. I've been on various projects, pipeline projects, and I've seen one end to the other of the proper procedures to build pipelines. I've been on various maintenance digs, and I know how the process works. You all have done your jobs, and it's not, I feel you guys, you people have been pointed to as villains, and I don't see that. You're just doing your job. We are the people that are the supply and demand. We're the ones that need these products. Until we can improve the wind energy, the solar energy, and develop better cars for it, we need this product. And you have done your job. Now it's time to pass the job on to us to build this project. Thank you.
Hi, Commissioners. My name is Christy Dolph. Last name is spelled D-O-L-P-H. I am a research scientist. I have master's and PhD degrees in water resources science from the University of Minnesota. I have two things to say. We only have 2 minutes. So I just want to briefly say there are a number of technical inadequacies in the FEIS. The biggest, probably in my opinion, being that there is no real assessment of impacts to Lake Superior or to the lower St. Louis River. I've written detailed comments to that effect and submitted them to the PUC. But there's something else I need to say today. I am here because the work I do is all about finding ways to restore and protect water quality in Minnesota. But that work is literally pointless if you all and our government cannot start getting some of the big pieces of the picture together. So we are in an unfolding climate catastrophe. Climate chaos is one of the biggest risks to water quality protection. An international panel of scientists has said we must scale down fossil fuels immediately to protect human life and life on Earth. That's not starting next year, that's not next project, that's starting right now. This oil also endangers waterways that are state policy priorities for protection and restoration. Meanwhile, there is no demand for this oil, as the DOC has testified, and members of indigenous tribes have testified over and over about the risk this project poses to their ways of life and to their communities. So if you cannot see your way to denying this project in light of all that, I don't really know what else I can tell you. Other than that, that decision sends a very strong message that this administration, the Walz administration, is engaging in science denial to an egregious degree. And that is science denial to benefit one entity. That entity is Enbridge. Enbridge has spent millions of dollars to buy this process. Enbridge pays people to sit here in the room. Enbridge has pitted Minnesota against each other. So my question really is that who you stand for? Do you stand for Enbridge? Or do you stand for the people of Minnesota? And really stopping this project, this is my final comment, stopping this project will do more for water quality protection and climate protection than we can do in lifetimes of environmental research. So we can research until we're blue in the face, but until you start taking action that meets what science demands, we might as well quit. So that's why I'm asking you to stand with science, stand with the people, and deny this project. Thank you.
Sir, if your name's on the bottom of the list, you're welcome to come forward. Oh.
Hello, I'm Lori Schott, and the correct spelling is S-C-H-O-T-T. Thank you for this opportunity today. I am one of the founders of a company that started out in Malacca, Minnesota, just north of here. We provide pipeline inspection and support to companies like Enbridge, not only Enbridge, but companies across the United States. Our pipeline inspectors provide oversight for construction projects. I'm here today to urge the PUC to find the FEIS adequate and to reaffirm the unanimous approvals of the certificate of need and the route permit. For over 4 years, I have sat here and testified and written letters and support for my people, my employees, our client. And personally, I have landowners that are friends along that right-of-way that are going to have that pipeline constructed across their agricultural lands, across the pasture lands. And Enbridge meets and exceeds everything I feel that has been asked of them by this commission and through this process. My husband is a pipeliner. My background is in agriculture. I'm a tough one to sell on processes and procedures when it comes to wetlands, contributaries, water issues. That's my passion. But marrying a pipeliner, my husband was one of the ones to be a construction manager for Enbridge a few years back. He constructed the Alberta Clipper, and I got to see firsthand the action of Enbridge, their ability to pay attention to the environment, to the people, to the communities. Everything that we have asked of them, I feel through this process, it's going to make it better. It's a critical infrastructure project, I really feel, for the right reasons. I feel it's for the safety and for the environment. And we move oil because that is the request of supply and demand. So please stop moving the regulatory finish line and give the union and small businesses like mine and Enbridge a chance to start. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Chris Saffert. I'm here to oppose Line 3. Every day, it seems like in the news, we're reading about new wildfires, melting glaciers, causing people to leave the homes that they've lived in all their years, whether islands are being overflowed with water or areas are becoming too hot to live. The rising temperatures in India and other places are having just an enormous impact all around the world. The UN now estimates that in 2018 there were 18 million climate migrants, people forced from their homes because of the impact of climate change. And now we're looking at adding, as the state of Minnesota tries to take steps to improve and increase the amount of renewable energy and move off some of the coal plants, now we're looking at a pipeline that will increase the tar sands use, the oil tar sands from Canada, and have the impact of 50 new coal plants. This is exactly the opposite direction that we need to be moving in. We need to have a vote in favor of a more hopeful future, not a future where we'll see more and more climate migrants being forced out of their homes. I hope you support that future for us. Thank you.
Thank you. If your name is on the list, you're welcome to also sit in these chairs that are just in front of the official parties.
Hello, thank you. My name is Rebecca Larson, and I'm from St. Paul. But I am reading a statement from a colleague named Lynn Pinnock, and she's from Monaga, Minnesota. And this is her statement. She asked me to read it for her because she was not able to be here today. My husband and I are small business owners. Since 2007, we have operated the Jewel of the Northwoods Bed and Breakfast in north central Minnesota on Lower Twin Lake, between Hubbard and Monaga. We are residents of Wadena County, but our property is very near the Hubbard County line. We love our business and we depend on the tourist economy. We are opposed to Line 3. The route of Line 3 will literally almost be in our backyard, in the area behind our lake. Why put our community and our people at risk? As a native of western North Dakota, born in Parshall, and we raised our family in Minot, I have seen firsthand how easy it is for large oil companies to cover up oil spills, as well as the magnitude and damage caused by oil spills. I have seen firsthand the huge man camps set up by oil companies to supply workers to the oil industry. I have experienced the additional crime, prostitution, and drugs that come into a community with a high transient population, such as a company's pipeline construction. The impact on our community is too great to allow this pipeline to proceed. Why put our water and land at risk? The old pipeline is leaking. That's why they want to replace it. But new pipelines built in the last 10 years are also leaking. No matter how great this new technology is for the new, Line 3 will eventually leak. We do not want to create another environmental disaster for our grandchildren to clean up. We do not want to risk the potential damage to our groundwater, our streams, and our precious lakes, so important to our way of life and our economy. The risk to our water is too great to allow this pipeline. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Hello, my name's Brian Wren, it's W-R-E-N, and I would like to read this on behalf of Whitney Bertram Messer. The DOC spill modeling confirms that if there would be a spill in Line 3 replacement project, does not pose a risk to Lake Superior watershed. The original modeling included 8 sites along the Line 3 route. By adding the Lake Superior watershed, the EIS provides a comprehensive assessment and should be found adequate. Replacing an aging pipeline with the most up-to-date pipeline design will definitely reduce the likelihood of an oil release. Extensive research and negotiations have been completed to secure the proposed route. It's time to find the EIS adequate and to reaffirm the unanimous approvals of the Certificate of Need and Route Permit from June 2018. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Jared Oberg, J-A-R-R-E-T-T, Oberg, O-B-E-R-G. Thank you, Commission, for hearing our comments. I just see a lot of people here from Enbridge that are taking seats, that are saying comments clearly on behalf of the company that's employing them. And without that job, they can't provide for their families. And I think in the richest nation on earth, we should be able to provide for our people without forcing them to build pipelines that will destroy communities of indigenous people and will continue to pump more and more emissions into our atmosphere, which cannot handle it. We see all over the planet that we see the effects of climate change already taking effect, and we are continuing to take actions that are not in accordance with addressing these. And so I would strongly urge you to oppose this pipeline and to continue to fight against this climate change. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Zoe Ramelkamp. That is spelled correctly. Zoerammelkamp. I'm a resident physician at the University of Minnesota. I also spend time at the VA Medical Center. And I just want to say a couple of things. First of all, as a doctor who's only been practicing for 2 years, I've already seen the health impacts of environmental exposures on my patients. I think that Line 3, expanding it or replacing it would actually make these environmental exposures even more common. And then second of all, just as a human on this planet, I think we have a duty to protect this beautiful place. I think, again, Line 3 and expanding it or, replacing it would be the opposite of protecting this planet, which I think we have a duty to protect. So please reject the environmental impact statement as it is inadequate, and we need to not further expand Line 3. Right, thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, thanks for the opportunity to speak here. I'm a grad student at the University of Wisconsin-Madison, and I've been working on fossil fuel developments in the upper Midwest. And last summer...
Can you state your name and spell it?
My name is Murillo. I was up there, and someone erased me. It's Murillozacareli. So during last summer, I had a chance to do a field work for 2 months in Minnesota as I was trying to understand the whole process going on with Line 3. And my results are not good whatsoever. I spoke with many people up north of Minnesota. They're not happy with the pipeline, and more specifically in addressing the impact statement, it fails not only to consider the oil spills to Lake Superior, but it also fails to consider the rights of indigenous peoples living in Minnesota. When I started doing my research and in working with Native Americans in Minnesota, I had to ask permission for the tribes to go there. That means that those tribes, they are sovereign. So if they say no, it's a no. If they had said, no, you cannot come over here and do your research, I wouldn't have been able to do so because they are sovereign and they have the power to do so. The same goes for a pipeline. They said no to a pipeline, and this needs to be respected. Treaty rights matter not only on reservations, but also on ceded lands that are surrounding the reservations, because that's where they also hold their fishing, gathering, and hunting rights. So please, I urge the Public Utilities Commission to deny the certificate of need and the route permit. Besides that, we do not need more fossil fuel. Oil coming through Minnesota is not going to be even used in the state of Minnesota. It's not going to be used anywhere in the U.S. It's going to go overseas to other countries. Do we have to bear the consequences of such a dirty energy or substance going through Minnesota and just threatening the lake of 10,000 lakes? I don't think that's acceptable. Thank you so much.
Good morning. Thank you for meeting with us today. I attended all but 2 of the 66 public meetings. My name is Ellen Hadley, Hadley. I'm a retired 7th grade teacher. I'm here today to stand with the students of Minnesota and the world. I am also one of the members of the 80,000 members of Sierra Club Minnesota. And so I stand with them also, and brought a copy for you of their new report that they gleaned out from the EIS, from the Department of Commerce calculations. The Department of Commerce calculated in the EIS that a new Line 3 expansion would release 193 million tons of carbon dioxide every year. That is far more than the entire state of Minnesota emits today. Currently, we in Minnesota are responsible for 154 million tons going into the atmosphere every year, carbon dioxide. Our goal is obviously to shrink that. The Next Generation Energy Act, passed in 2008, assured my students that Minnesota would be taking steps to reduce our carbon dioxide and provide them a safe future. My students met with Governor Tim Pawlenty, and he explained that, don't worry, kids, we will have this all figured out by the time you're out of high school. That was in 2008. The Line 3 project violates the law, the Next Generation Energy Act. Have you counted how many treaties that this project violates? Our Earth cannot handle this carbon dioxide. It's time to say no to Line 3. Be the climate heroes we need you to be. Thank you. Would you like a copy of the report?
Sure, you could hand it to our staff over there. Thank you. Next person on the list.
Hello, my name is Andy Kokoschka, legally spelled A-N-D-R-I-E, last name K-U-K-A-C-K-A. I'm here today hailing from St. Peter, Minnesota, and I'm 22 years old, and I have lived in this state for my entire life. I know that as the state of Minnesota, we straddle 4 to 5 major biomes. We are now, as of 2019, the 2nd fastest warming state in the entirety of the U.S., with Alaska as the one in front of us. We've already lost Minnesota as we know it. The boundary waters are dying. Our beloved state animals, such as the loon, the moose, and the wolf, have all left. The emissions and the direct environmental disruptions that the construction of a new pipeline will continue to accelerate this crisis, not to mention the catastrophic effects that this may have on our fresh water when this pipeline inevitably leaks, which it will. Minnesotans often pride themselves in being progressive, but by allowing this line to be constructed and continuing to engage in the funding of the fossil fuel industry, we are not only engaging in climate complacency as our world floods and burns around us, but allows us to put the interests of a company to reign over the health of the people of Minnesota. I've seen some of you around here today wearing pins that say, "Respect Minnesota," a statement that I find ironic given the motives of the company behind this pipeline. Cutting across treaty lands, allowing pipelines that will inevitably leak to cross our fresh water is all but respectful of Minnesota's indigenous people and what little is left of our geography. These jobs are not almost exclusively temporary, but serve to benefit not our hardworking Minnesotans that I see sitting behind me today, but the company Enbridge, nobody else. As someone from a working class background, I understand the anxiety surrounding the need for jobs, but there will be no jobs in a dead world.
Thank you. Next person on the list, you're welcome to come up.
Hello, my name is Jeannie Falstrom, and it is spelled correctly. I'm a grandmother. I live in Minneapolis.
I'm sorry, but
You need to
I don't
spell it?
think the court reporter would like everyone to spell.
JEANNEFAHLSTROM. I live in Minneapolis, and I have a cabin along the SA-06 route of Line 3. My dad, who passed, built our cabin. Like yourselves, he was a commissioner in the state of Minnesota. My parents did not build their cabin and buy that land so that Enbridge could clear the forest and build a pipeline under the lake. I'm sharing this story with you because most of you can understand having property and having that property threatened. It is very stressful. Most of us can't know what it is like to have sacred wild rice lake and treaty land threatened by this same pipeline and having your whole culture threatened. I imagine it is very hurtful and very stressful. Enbridge has already admitted that they have never had a pipeline that hasn't leaked. This threatens our land and our water. Our planet is also being threatened by the Line 3 pipeline. This planet is trying to protect itself, and it is protecting itself through us. That is how I know that Line 3 will be stopped. Through myself and others, we will protect the waters and forests of Minnesota. I invite each of you commissioners to be part of protecting our planet and part of protecting the land and waters of Minnesota. I invite you each to be your most courageous selves and stand up for the planet and the land and water of Minnesota now, and deny the certificate of need and the certificate of route for Line 3. Thank you so much for letting us finally speak to you.
Madam Chair, Commissioners, my name is Daniel Olson. The spelling is correct, D-A-N-I-E-L-O-L-S-O-N. I come before you today grateful that you're allowing me to speak. I represent more than 13,000 men and women in the Labor's International Union in North America, which covers Minnesota and North Dakota. I also live in Superior, Wisconsin, where Enbridge did the 13 miles of Line 3 two and a half years ago. I live less than a half a mile away from the right-of-way in Superior, Wisconsin. I've lived there all my life. My purpose of being here today is I am not an Enbridge employee. I am a close to 45-year part-time construction worker. I've worked on the pipelines that have gone from Canada to Elgin, Illinois, and I've worked in the Superior Terminal. I'm a construction craft laborer, and we provide the safest and the most intelligent people in the industry within the 4 trades that will be working on this pipeline. My main focus is nothing more than what we are here to do today. You have been given all of the information over a long period of time, close to 67, 68 meetings. The public comment time that has been issued for people to either personally sit up here. We've been throughout the state. We've got a pipe tour that there's trucks outside. But But very simply put, you are here to reaffirm the decisions that you made earlier, and it is to approve the final impact statement. The oil spill has been addressed, and again, my final comment, to reaffirm a decision you've already made. Thank you.
Hi, my last name is spelled correct. It's Surapani. First name is Lalita, Laalalitha. Thank you. So I'm a practicing internal medicine physician. I am part of Health Professionals for Healthy Climate, which is a group of over 400 Minnesota health professionals, doctors, nurses, and public health professionals. I find that the EIS is inadequate because it does not take any human health risks into consideration from the oil spill. We know that there's benzene and other cancer-causing substances in the oil, and when they spill, they can evaporate, causing air pollution, and can also contaminate water, causing water pollution, as we've seen in spills in Arkansas in 2013, and also in the 2015 Yellowstone River spill. I wanted to say, as an internist, when I take care of patients, I start with what we call a working diagnosis. So I take the information I have at hand and come up with a diagnosis. So something similar is happening here. Since the last approval was made for you all in June 2018, there's now new information. In October 2018, the Ipcc said, they really put a sense of urgency, saying that by 2030, we got to cut down our emissions by 45%. The fourth National Climate Assessment came out in November of 2018, and they said that the health and well-being of Americans is already being impacted by climate change. In June of 2019, over 75 U.S. medical organizations, including the American Heart Association, American Medical, and American Nursing Association, said that climate change is a health emergency. In terms of permitting this pipeline, as we've heard, it's as if we're permitting 50 coal plants, and I know none of you would do that. So at the hospital, like I said, when I diagnose my patient's illness, I have a team that I work with and I can take care of them. But here, sitting here in front of you, I can only diagnose the problem of climate change, but you have the power. You have the power to protect the health of Minnesotans, not just today, but health of generations to come. So I urge you to find the EIS inadequate and deny the certificate of need and the route permit for Line 3. I only have 2 minutes, but I do have a full report on the health impacts of Line 3 that I would like to leave with you. Thank you so much.
The next person can come forward.
Hello there, my name is Michael Kuhn. I'm a resident of the East Phillips neighborhood of Minneapolis. I work as a farmer and gardener. I'm training to work in the solar industry. I'm here today as a young person and a person of faith standing in solidarity with the over 500 faith leaders that have signed a letter condemning this project and who have grave moral concerns for the implications of this project for the people of Minnesota and, most importantly, the Indigenous Anishinaabe people, who I also stand as an ally for. I would just like to take a moment as part of my testimony to have a pause, a moment of presence, and invite you as the commissioners and everyone in this room to stop, close our eyes, and just take a few breaths. Maybe put a hand on your heart if you feel called. Thank you. I'm going to leave some of the more technical criticisms of this insufficient EIS to other people who have more experience and expertise here. But my question to ask the commissioners is, what is sacred? What is our responsibility to protect? And what lengths are we going to go to protect that? We're here today because earlier in this regulatory process, Enbridge's complacency and negligence did not even consider the impacts on the Lake Superior watershed of this project, and I believe the current EIS does not fully explore those implications, and that this pipeline will inevitably spill and have devastating effects on our sacred waters and sacred wild rice lakes of the Anishinaabe people. The tar sands oil industry is dying, Enbridge is dying, and we need to move forward. We need to protect a future for our coming generations. The FEIS is insufficient, and the PUC needs to reconsider the impacts and ultimately deny both of these permits. Thank you. Thank you. May I leave a copy of the letter of the faith leaders?
Next person, please come forward.
Jackie Christensen, JACI-CHRISTENSON. We are here today in a watershed moment. I reviewed the revised final environmental impact statement, hoping for a watershed moment, a change of direction by the people charged to make decisions for the public good. Instead, the information on spill impacts to the Lake Superior watershed fails to recognize the value of a healthy watershed. It ignores our changing climate and extreme rain events and admits that impacts of a spill cannot be predicted. Nothing of substance has changed in the revised FEIS. The new statement neglects to define the Lake Superior watershed. It looks at one additional site and claims that a tar sand spill in the Little Otter Creek will not reach Lake Superior. Well, even if oil doesn't reach Lake Superior, oil in Little Otter Creek in the St. Louis River will adversely affect the overall health of this amazing watershed. This FEIS states that tar sands oil will not reach Lake Superior, yet the claim is based on analysis that uses outdated modeling, neglecting to factor Minnesota's changing climate. The report ignores the reality that Duluth and the region within 70 miles of that city have experienced 3 mega rain events from 2012 to 2018. That's 500-year rains and 1,000-year rain events. By omitting these increasingly common mega rain events from the analysis, the FEIS admits crucial informative weather data. The Minnesota Court of Appeals ruled that the revised FEIS was inadequate. The FEIS authors admit in Chapter 10 that they have failed to do what the court requested. The analysis in this chapter, and I quote, cannot predict the impact of a spill. And they have also admitted in their application across public waters that it cannot comply with Minnesota rules. Public Utilities Commissioners, this is your opportunity to lead us to a Minnesota livable future. And I am asking for this momentous watershed moment right here, right now. I have done everything as a citizen. I'm going to get down on my hands and knees, and I am going to beg of you to think of the next generation. Thank you.
Next person, please.
Robert Frank as spelled. Thank you, Commissioners, for hearing my testimony. I'd prepared a fairly detailed presentation, but I've amended that. Since the pipeline replacement was first proposed, there is a new elephant in the room: climate change. This is not going away, and even with our best efforts, it's only going to get worse.
Sir, could you just speak a little closer to the microphone?
Okay, thank you. I ask that the Commission make this its overriding consideration. We are on the verge of a mass extinction and climate and environmental disaster. Tipping points and cascading consequences are looming. Past extinctions have resulted in temperatures on land of 140 degrees and ocean temperatures of 105 degrees. We have to do everything to prevent this. Line 3 is just a beginning. Stopping Line 3 is just a beginning. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name was just on the board, but I think it got kind of filtered out. But my name is Ashley Carmichael, ASHLEY CARMICHAEL. Hello, thank you, Madam Chair and members, for having me here today, and thank you for being here today. My name is Ashley Carmichael. I was born, raised, and am still living in Minnesota. Minnesota is my home. I am extremely opposed to the idea of this massive oil pipeline being constructed from Wisconsin to Canada, crossing directly through my precious home state, Minnesota. The EIS is still inadequate, and I believe both permits should be denied. I will share my reasons with you. I am terrified. I am terrified that other human beings would knowingly lead us all farther down the road to mass extinction that we are already seeing signs of in many parts of the world. In 2019, the Ipcc informed us that we are in a state of global emergency. They warned us that we will only have 12 more years left if we continue at this rate, continuing to conduct business as usual as human beings here on this planet, doing all the things that science has told us time and time again is harming our planet. The fact that anyone is stopping to ask if a new fossil fuel pipeline is necessary is beyond me. The answer is no, it is not necessary at all. In fact, it is the last thing we need to be working on right now as we fight for our lives here on this planet. The science does not lie, and we need to unite behind the science, as Greta Thunberg tells us. Now it is 2020, meaning we would have 10 years left according to the IPCC's urgent warning to all of us. The Line 3 pipeline would create as much pollution as 50 coal plants. Adding any more to our already troubling pollution levels is the most terrible idea I have ever heard of. And also the question is not, will the pipeline leak? It is, when will the pipeline leak? Because if you look at the history of pipelines, they all leak, big or small. And how do you clean up an oil spill? You cannot. There is no way. Once the damage is done, it is done. Why put our lives and the lives of so many other living things at stake like that? For money? We can't breathe money, just like we can't drink oil. Think of that. I have lived in Minnesota my entire life. Thank you. I don't want to go over my time.
Thank you.
Hello. Thank you for hearing us. My name is Mary Teresa Downing, spelled the way it is shown on the board. I'm here because I have grandchildren. I see people sitting here who are worried about their jobs, and I've been fortunate. I've never had to do that. I was lucky to be born in a family where people had enough money and my husband made enough money, and I never had to worry about it. But I wonder if those people are thinking about how long those jobs are going to last on this pipeline. Will you be laying this pipeline for 5 years? Will you be laying it for 10 years? I think you'll probably be finished in 2 or 3 years. And then what kind of job will you have? It's a given that this pipeline will leak. It's a given that we already have a world where some people can't breathe. And the longer we put fossil fuels in the air, the more people will have trouble breathing. If we add this pipeline and all the oil that it's going to send to other countries to be burned, 50 coal plants, what do you think that means about your breathing, my breathing? I don't care about my breathing. I'm going to be gone in 20 years. But in 20 years, you'll probably still be here. And what about your kids? What about my grandchildren? There's been a lot of study and a lot of things have been looked at, and there have been lots of meetings. That doesn't mean that this is right. There are people who understand this study much better than I do that have already told you there are all kinds of problems here, that the science isn't complete, that it isn't right, that it wasn't included in the study. We all know that the climate has changed and it's going to keep changing unless we stop doing what we're doing now. And this is one of the things we have to stop right now. Please do not approve this pipeline. Think of what it means to your grandchildren as well as mine. Think of what it means to these workers' grandchildren. We're all at risk here. Please do not approve this pipeline. Thank you.
I'm Trayvon Teller. I'm like speaking on half of Mary Breen. I'm just here just to like ask you to please not. It's on treaty land, and the land is covered with blood. And what we don't want is it covered with blood and oil that you can't clean up. You can't clean up oil, and you can't clean all the blood that we have spilt on this land for 200 years. And yes, there are jobs, but these jobs last for like 5 years and then they're gone. And what is left is blood and oil in the water on treaty land. How can you do that to people? Human beings who have went through so much, whose land we've stolen, whose people we've killed, and now you want to build a pipeline on their land and say, oh no, it's safe. They're not safe. There is a list of every spill that Enbridge has had for 14 years. Let me just pull up one of them really quick. In 2014, Enbridge spilt 123 gallons or 123,606 gallons of oil over 100 oil spills. That's 2014. From 1996 to 2014, there have been 1,276 spills, and there has been 9,423,708 gallons spilt. That's all I have to say. Trayvon Teller, Trevon Tellor. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Robin Christensen. I thank you for hosting this. Tons of work in this process, tons of frustration. I'm kind of outside the envelope. As you can see by my shirt, I'm looking at a topic called climate engineering. There was a recent article by the National Observer about a 4-fold increase in jet fuel. And I'm against the pipeline because, as many people have said, we're heading toward extinction. We're hurtling toward extinction. And I think Daniel Quinn has a good quote. He wrote about extinction back in 1990. He even wrote about Donald Trump not holding the keys to the prison. That's interesting. But in his award-winning book, he said, does Earth belong to us, or do we belong to Earth? We need to start quickly enacting a new story. The remnants of indigenous populations that lived well before Bible times still survive in peace with the environment. One web of the species. And the National Observer bringing up this article does not mention climate engineering, and I will inform people that we have a federal lawsuit in Minnesota by a nonprofit group. So where is the environmental groups getting behind this? And that is to find out what's going on in our skies when 3 C-17s make lines all the way across the sky. Is that a proposal? No. I believe those are aerosol trails, and it's the microwave, radio frequency microwaves that interact with those particles. It's weather warfare. 28,000 gallons are spent when you fly across the sky with a military tanker. And how many decades has this been done? When are we going to wake up to the biggest piece in the puzzle, and that is weather warfare? And that's one reason Australia has smoke, and that smoke's convenient. Destroy the Australia, but we can mask the problem by having smoke and screening off the sun. It doesn't work. Decades of this prove it. It's in the rainwater. We have metallic particles in our minds from our bloodstream. Sorry, I went too long.
Thank you. If your name's on the list, you can come forward next. Doesn't have to be next on the list, I think, just to move it along.
Hello, my name is Eliza Macy, spelled E-L-I-Z-A-M-A-C-Y. I'm a St. Paul resident and I'm 22 years old. I'm here because I believe that the FEIS falls short and should not be found adequate, and that Line 3 should not be granted further permits by the PUC. Line 3 is a threat to all Minnesotans, especially Indigenous people, and to life globally. Scientists worldwide agree that we have 10 years at maximum to reduce global carbon emissions by about half to avoid the most catastrophic impacts of climate change, which includes civilization collapse and the mass death of human and non-human life. The science tells us that Line 3 is a climate disaster in the midst of the worsening global climate crisis. The greenhouse gas emissions from this project would be equal to 50 coal power plants, and completely cancel out any statewide gains on climate through clean vehicle standards or 100% renewable energy initiatives, which are efforts that Minnesota is leading the way on. We are already dangerously behind the climate goals we must reach in order to avoid the worst impacts of climate catastrophe, and Line 3 would make these goals literally impossible to meet. Minnesotans and youth climate strikers around the world are demanding a livable future, which will be gravely threatened by the construction of Line 3. I'm also asking the PUC to further evaluate the impact that oil spills from additional tar sands transport via Line 3 would have on Lake Superior watershed, St. Louis River and estuary, and other waterways, and to consider the risk of impacting Anishinaabe cultural heritage and wild rice harvesting waters. These decisions will directly impact people's lives now, but will also have great influence on billions of human and non-human life for generations to come. Our lives are in your hands. The eyes of my generation and future generations are on you. We are counting on you. Thank you.
Hi, thanks for the opportunity to comment. My name's Aurelia. It's A-U-R-E-L-I-A. The revised FEIS does not assess the impact of an oil spill on Lake Superior's watershed. The Little Otter Creek model is designed to downplay risks. EPA guidelines for risk management plans require operators to assume worst-case scenarios, complete equipment failure, worst-case weather, and worst-case discharge based on historic discharge data. An adequate FEIS would model scenarios on real-life examples. For instance, the disaster in 2010 when over 1 million gallons of tar sand oil poured into Talmadge Creek and the Kalamazoo River over the course of 17 hours. An adequate FEIS would acknowledge the reality of extreme weather events, 500-year rains and flooding, and would assess the ecological, public health, and environmental effects of a large spill at a crossing on the Mississippi or close to Lake Superior. An adequate FEIS would take into account the increased rate of equipment failure for new pipelines, as evidenced by recent spills off the Keystone Pipeline. An adequate FEIS would also make sure that Enbridge Energy Partners had the assets to cover the costs of an oil spill. With catastrophic climate change manifesting around the world and a depressed oil industry, it's incredible that we are considering this project. This pipeline is not a replacement. It's a new pipeline with double capacity that transports tar sand oil through a new corridor of pristine wetlands and wild rice lakes. Today, many people will point out that we all use gas. True. We founded our society and our identities on fossil fuel. In doing so, we have decimated the natural world, most of the damage occurring in the last 30 years. We can either face it and work together towards solutions, or we can keep our heads in the sand and respond in chaotic panic when things get out of control. The future is coming one way or another. I ask the commissioners to act in the public interest and rather than in the interest of a billion-dollar oil company that wants to milk every last dollar out of a dying industry, no matter the environmental cost. Thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Paul Utke, spelled U-T-K-E. And I'm state senator for District 2 up in northwestern Minnesota, and two of the counties I happen to represent are Clearwater County, where the Clearbrook Terminal is located, and Hubbard County, where the line will go both to the south and to the east. I have lived and worked in that area for almost 27 years now, and the line will go within just a few miles of my house, and I am here to support this project, ask that you reaffirm the EIS, route permits, and the certificate of need. Line 3 is a maintenance project. This is about a company wanting to do the right thing in the area in which I live and all across northern Minnesota. Today, when we talk about a project like this, we talk about technology, maintenance, and safety. And I'm going to use a couple examples to kind of change up what you normally hear, because I think you've heard it all already over all the years that you've sat and listened to this. Technology, I'm referring to something everyone in this room has in their home, and that is a TV. When the current Line 3 was manufactured in our area of the country, we were just receiving TV for the first time, and we were getting it on a little black and white TV. And at that time, it was cutting edge technology. Look at what we have today. Flat screen TVs that cover a wall. We can watch whatever channel, whenever we want, etc. And now maintenance. Back at that time, remember the '57 Chevrolet? Some of us are old enough to have ridden in them when they were new. Others have now enjoyed looking at them at car shows. Without a lot of maintenance, restoration, and care, we would not be able to enjoy looking at these older cars. Full restorations, overhauls, paint jobs, and new sets of tires. I use these examples because they're all the same age as this pipeline that this company is wanting to replace. It's had continuous maintenance for the 60-plus years that it's been in service, but that's not like being able to pull the engine for a complete overhaul or take it to the body shop for a complete paint job. No, this pipeline has received its maintenance where it's at, and it has continued to move oil safely for all of these years. Enbridge wants to invest $2.6 billion to replace a pipeline manufactured during a time which included the black and white television and new broadcasts with a new pipeline and 21st century technology. From the products used and the advancements, this is a project that it's a no-brainer. Commissioners, you've approved the certificate of need twice. You've approved the route permit twice. It's time to move this forward. And one last thing, yes, every one of us wants to protect our pristine lakes and natural resources, and that is why we have the process in place that we do. This project has been studied and restudied every way possible, and now it's time to turn our talented Minnesota workforce loose and let them put the 21st century products and technology in the ground. Thank you.
Thank you. The other people who are on the list are welcome to come forward and sit in these chairs, so we're ready to hear from the next.
One last thing. I had brought a bunch of letters from people. Do I just turn them on over here?
Thank you, Senator.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Kevin O'Connor, Kevin_Connor. I'm a partner in environmental resources management, and I have been consulting on energy projects for more than 30 years. I asked the Commission to find the FEIS adequate and reaffirm the certificate of need and routing permit. Public involvement in energy infrastructure projects is critical, and this project has had more than its fair share of review. This hearing today, a unique hearing, amplifies that. The Department of Commerce spill modeling confirms that in the very unlikely case of a spill, the Line 3 replacement project does not introduce risk to Lake Superior. That, coupled with this body's previous approval of the need and routing permits, provides the Commissioners with all you need to confidently move this project forward. I work with Christine, who spoke previously. She and her team have spent countless hours over the last 7 years along the right-of-way, meeting with all manner of stakeholders. While the support from Minnesotans and communities along the right-of-way is not always particularly vocal, it is very strong. I encourage you to find the FEIS adequate and reaffirm the certificate of need and routing permits. Thank you.
Hello, my name's Sam Reed, R-E-E-D, and I'm a PhD student in forest ecology, and I study how our North American forests respond to the effects of climate change, so things like fire and windstorms and invasive species. And from everything I've read, everything I've learned, everything that I know, the EIS for the Line 3 pipeline is inadequate, and it should not be granted any further permits. Our climate is changing rapidly due to the burning of fossil fuels, and this pipeline would do nothing but compound the issues that forests and watersheds face, such as the risk of pollution from tar sands and the reality of a more unstable planet with increased fire, droughts, windstorms, and all types of nasty things, all caused by rapid climate change. From fossil fuels transported by pipelines like this, fossil fuels from the Line 3 pipeline that have been deemed unnecessary by the Department of Commerce, fossil fuels that threaten native nations and their sovereign rights, fossil fuels that must be kept in the ground. Thus, I urge the PUC to rule the Line 3 EIS to be inadequate and deny all future permits related to the project. Thank you.
My name is Mike Menzel, and it's spelled M-E-N-Z-E-L. I'm a retired physician, having worked in practicing medicine in Minnesota for 34 years. And I'm speaking to you today from my concern of the impacts of health from climate change. If there were a careful and complete evaluation of the consequences of the ongoing operation of Line 3 and its expansion, I believe you would conclude, as many here today, that the operations would cease immediately and stop all permits from going forward. This, after all, really is an expansion. We're going to see more product being delivered at a time when we have 1 decade to decarbonize by 7% every year to reach goals to prevent dangerous temperature levels. As a physician, if a patient came to me with alcoholic liver disease or COPD, I wouldn't encourage them to expand or increase the amount of alcohol they drink, nor the amount of tobacco they use. And it's a similar situation here. Humanity is really at a critical juncture, and the clock is ticking, as I said, with 10 years to go. And in approving this pipeline would be one of the largest carbon lock-ins in history. This is going to continue to flow for years and years when we need to be cutting back. We need to really lock out carbon and not lock it in. So you have a mandate to protect the public health and prevent toxic water pollution. So in closing, I just want to say that one of the best parts of my morning was standing in line for 2 hours with 3 gentlemen from Duluth, and we had differences of opinion, I'm sure, and we had a great time out there together, so we can get along. So I just want to conclude by saying, don't let the complexity of this stop you from doing the right thing. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Grace Thompson, spelled Gracethomson. I'm from Moose Lake, Minnesota. I'm 18 years old, and I hope to speak on behalf of some of my peers who are not able to speak today due to school obligations.
I've heard lots of different opinions today, but I'd like to kind of focus on some commonality we have as Minnesotans. Like many of you, I have treasured memories of water. I believe most Minnesotans can relate to memories of swimming in our lakes, ice fishing, enjoying our beautiful rivers. After all, what is Minnesota, if not the land of 10,000 lakes and sky-tinted waters? I can tell you what Minnesota is not. Minnesota is not the land of 383,000 gallons of oils in our waterways, as is North Dakota, thanks to the Keystone pipeline leak. Minnesota is not the land of 260,000 people out of work because no tourist wants to visit a state with polluted waters and no fish in our lakes. Minnesota is not the land of children growing up without clean drinking water, wild rice in our lakes, and otter in our river because of pollution. Minnesota is the land of proud, respectable people whose morals are uncorrupted by the promise of immediate financial benefit. I implored the commission, when deciding on this vital subject, to vote in the interest of all Minnesotans, including young people like myself who are at your mercy, so that our state's future may be sky-tinted and not oil-tainted. Thank you.
Unless Carol Bechtel is here, I will speak next. My name is Kathy Hollander, KathyHollander. I would just like to also take a moment to acknowledge whose land we are on. It was originally the Dakota people's land, and it is a land now also where many Anishinaabe people call home. Somehow they managed to live in harmony with thousands, millions, who knows, number of animals, insects, birds, the species who occupied this land. And as we talk about a major construction project to this land, I think we have to keep that in mind. In yesterday's Star Tribune, there was an article about high water flows on the Mississippi River. Perhaps some of you saw it. And possible winter floods. Now, in winter even. 2019 surpassed the previous record set in 1993 by enough water to fill Lake Mille Lacs 6.5 times over. That's an unprecedented amount of water. And I would like to say I believe that the second FEIS is not adequate. We only have time to do a few things here, but the second EIS discussed water flows, but did not consider this increase in scale of water from climate change, changes in precipitation. I agree with one other commenter who said that the second FEIS did not even define what is the watershed of Lake Superior, although the Court of Appeals mentioned that repeatedly in their ruling. They also only looked in Minnesota, the state of Minnesota, and did not consider Wisconsin. Although we know from a recent court case, I'm sure that the Public Utilities Commission is very aware of the court case. What was the name of it? A matter of Minnesota Power's petition for approval of the Energy Forward Resource Package, that environmental impacts of a project based in Wisconsin can be included in a Minnesota-based environmental review. You know that. I agree with the previous commentators that climate change is now a crisis for us. We must take action now. We're losing trees rapidly all across the world. They are a carbon sink. Our oceans are losing their ability to absorb carbon dioxide. We have a worldwide planetary emergency. And yet here we are discussing a new crude oil pipeline designed to carry additional tar sands oil, one of the most carbon-intensive fuels on Earth. Why? OPEC is again looking at extending the cuts to production they have put in place because of fears of a renewed oil supply surplus. The U.S. is also exporting. Your time is up. Petroleum products and crude oil at an unprecedented rate. Thank you very much for listening to us.
Commissioners, thank you for allowing for public testimony. My name is Sean Lim. I'm 20 years old, and I'm an organizer with the Minnesota Youth Collective. I'm also an undergraduate student at the University of Minnesota studying environmental science, policy, and management with a concentration in policy, planning, law, and society. Unlike the fossil fuel industry, we do not stand to gain financially from this pipeline. This pipeline would span the entirety of northern Minnesota, crossing the Mississippi headwaters not once but twice, all the way to the shores of Lake Superior. That is home of 1/5 of the world's global water supply. Please let that sink in. I'm a firm believer that science and policy are explicitly intertwined, and that one informs the other. At least that's how it should be. Line 3 should not be replaced. It should be permanently shut down, and we should be instead fundamentally transitioning our state and national energy grid towards 100% renewable energy alternatives. Line 3 is a climate disaster waiting to blow up in our faces. We cannot mitigate impacts on this scale, so the only reasonable option is to make sure that the pipeline is never built in the first place. We cannot know the unimaginable ecological catastrophe that this replacement line would bring should it fail. All of the technological advancement and fail-safes cannot and will not negate the risk or impact of a potential leak. Deepwater Horizon, Exxon Valdez, and more. All pipelines and fossil fuel infrastructure projects can and will fail eventually. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when and where it happens. Will it be 5 years post-construction or 10 years? It is clear that we stand too much to lose. Tar sand oil sinks when it spills and is almost impossible to ever fully clean up. We cannot play around with human lives. The livelihoods of entire communities are at stake. We cannot drink petroleum, we cannot eat bitumen or oil sands. The dirtiest fossil fuel in the world should stay in the ground. I want to make sure that you understand that the short-term profits of Enbridge are not more important than the long-term longevity of Minnesotan people and our posterity. 50 generations to come, 100 generations to come. To date, Enbridge Energy has poured upwards of $5 million into lobbying state officials. The record amount was reported by this exact body. Line 3 would cross ceded lands under the 1855 treaty and taint the most sacred wild rice watersheds in the world. As Kokoschka says, wild rice is who we are as people. The wild rice has already given more to the state economy than any pipeline will ever give to the state economy. Consultation is not consent, and the impacts of this pipeline would disproportionately affect Native folks and violate existing treaty guarantees. This moment, we need moral clarity from you. Thank you for listening to me, and thank you for hearing from all of us today. Thank you.
Ruth Lind, Lindh. I grew up on a farm near St. Peter and have lived in Minnesota all my life. I'm proud to say that this is where I live, but like most of us, I have taken for granted the abundance of this place. Our complacency must end. The quality of our water is already at the brink of a public health crisis. This month, we learned that 500,000 Minnesotans are drinking water contaminated with nitrates above the legal level. Recent research indicates that even half that legal level is associated with higher risk of cancer and birth defects. Add to that the news that 56% of Minnesota water is contaminated with PFAS, those so-called forever chemicals. The health of all living things is endangered by these poisons, and the remediation cost will be staggering. To increase the flow of tar sands in a mixture known to be virtually impossible to clean up if spilled in a watery location is foolhardy. Millions of us live downstream. We are brewing a perfect storm of problems if this project is approved. Remember, there are substitutes for oil. There is no substitute for clean water. To approve this permit is to ignore the advice of the legal judge, to disregard Department of Commerce findings, and to blow off the 94% of public commentary that opposed it. It would sabotage our efforts to transition to clean energy. We need to shrink our carbon footprint, not supersize it. Commissioners, in a very real sense, you are the architects of our future. Will that future liken you to the owners of the Titanic saying, "Why would we need all those lifeboats?" Please deny the certificate and the permits. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Laura Triplett, Dr. Laura Triplett, Triplett. I have been a geologist for 23 years and a professor for 13. I've been thinking this morning that I actually might have something in common with you. It's interesting being here, and I'll tell you what I'm thinking about. In my courses, I always teach a little bit about climate science because you have to understand the climate if you're going to understand the planet, how the world works. And every semester, my students look at me when I show them the data about how quickly the temperature is warming and how quickly sea level is rising. And they say, "Hey, Laura, what should we be doing about this?" And I say, the science is easy. We should be sharply reducing our carbon emissions. Done. But they're smart. And they say, "Hey, Laura, how should we do that?" And I used to say, that's not my job. I'm the scientist. I need you to go to the economics department and take some courses. I need you to learn about how government works, go talk to the political science department, but that's not really me. Come back to me when you figure it out. And I figured out that's not the right answer. I've decided that it really is my job as a scientist to say very clearly, we need to reduce our carbon emissions, and it is even my job to be here in a venue like this and to say that must include not locking us into infrastructure that promotes further carbon emissions. And so here's where I think the similarity is that some people will ask you today in your job to think very narrowly. You should just be thinking very narrowly about the revised FEIS. I don't think that's right. I think climate change, as people have said this morning very eloquently, is a job for all of us to be thinking about. It's a job for all of us to be thinking about all of the time. And it's a job in particular for you these couple of days. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Paul Stolen. My name is spelled correctly up there, spelled the easy way. I have been involved with this project since early in 2014 as a volunteer. My background is, I have a scientific background. I've been at the University of Minnesota and the Humphrey Institute on environmental policy. I've been an environmental regulator in Montana and Minnesota for 35 years before I retired in 2009. I worked on over 12 pipeline projects in Montana and Minnesota, carbon dioxide, oil, water, many of them. And I've managed EISs. I've been in smoke-filled rooms where decisions such as you have made been involved in those kind of decisions. I've advised decision makers like you. I submitted a 25-page report that's aimed at the decisions you need to make based on whether an EIS is adequate. And I know your business that way. This report, the EIS is many thousands of pages long, and you have to ask, how can you understand whether it's adequate? Well, in my long career, I found that when you look at the studies that were cited in the report, which is the literature cited sections, you can have make a quick judgment as to whether they've done a good job. Legally, you have to pay attention to the science, and you have to pay attention to whether the report is adequately up to date. My report says it is not. I looked at the issue of Dilbit, the environmental impacts of Dilbit. I found that most of the studies of Dilbit were published after the EIS. They're not in the EIS at all. And I urge you to look at my report and look at the other reports that are criticism. Look at them yourselves. Don't rely on others. Read them yourself. And I'll provide one more copy of my report. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Rachel Johnson, Rachel Johnsson. Thank you for allowing me to be here today and speak with you. I support the Line 3 project. I came here today from Duluth, Minnesota. I grew up on the North Shore. I love and appreciate the Great Lake and our state of 10,000 lakes. But I believe that there's a need for us to replace the Line 3 with the new Line 3. It's a necessary part of our state's infrastructure. And I think it can be a project that we're proud of because so many will benefit from it. Although sometimes labeled as immoral, the use of fossil fuels has dramatically improved the overall progress of humanity. It improves life expectancy and incomes. And I will note that it does take energy to purify our water and make it safe for drinking. So necessary infrastructure can be installed and maintained responsibly in our backyard with care for the environment. And it's an environment that we all care about, all of us in the communities on and around the right-of-way of the project. We need this energy infrastructure in our state in order to provide for the products that we all use every day. And we also need it for our safety and our homeland security. So today I ask you to please approve the adequacy of the EIS and approve the certificate of need and the route permit. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Andrew Vrabel-Miles. That's ANDRAWVRABELMILES. I'm a polymer chemist, so I'm well aware of the utility that petroleum products have in our lives. Nonetheless, I've read the relevant sections of the revised EIS, and I'm here before you today to denounce this document for a very particular reason. Granted, there are many technical reasons why it should not be approved. For instance, it is lacking in key figures such as how much of our precious 1.5 degrees the new pipeline would squander, as well as the 22% increase in sexual violence and murder among Indigenous women in communities that man camps pass through. And also how many treaty rights would be violated by the pipeline. Nonetheless, the reason that I am here, the issue that I have is more of a stylistic concern. I feel that the document fails to engender in the reader the despair and disappointment that is faced by people my age around the world every day. We wake into a world where, despite 50 years of evidence that we need to be transitioning to a renewable energy economy, nonetheless, in meetings like this one, the buck gets passed down the line at the expense of our livable future. We wake into a reality where Enbridge, the company responsible for the largest inland oil spill in U.S. history, according to NPR News, which took place in Hutchinson, Minnesota, in 1991, has been allowed to progress this far along the permitting process. And so I ask you to find in your hearts the empathy required to deny this process at every step of the way. Thank you very much.
Hello, everyone. My name is Mia Werger, that's spelled correctly.
I am a biology student and a concerned citizen of Minneapolis. I am here to urge the Public Utilities Commission to deny both the certificate of need and the routing permit to the Enbridge Line 3 pipeline. This pipeline will undermine all of the work that Minnesota has done to reduce our carbon emissions, protect our unique ecosystems, and restore justice to our Indigenous peoples. I have heard the arguments about the benefits of a pipeline versus other means of oil transport. These arguments are a distraction. The carbon emissions from the oil in this pipeline would exceed the annual emissions from Minnesota's entire economy. It would be ludicrous to pretend that Minnesota is committed to protecting the environment if we allow this pipeline to be built. You all know, every single one of you knows, that oil is killing us. Carbon emissions are poisoning our air. Spills and leaks are poisoning our waters. The human trafficking that has been proven to come with pipeline construction is poisoning our communities. And this reckless disregard for nature is poisoning our own humanity. Minnesota cannot afford to earn or spend one more cent on oil. We will resist this pipeline every step of the way. In conclusion, the final environmental impact statement does not adequately address these vast and far-reaching harms that Line 3 will cause. Therefore, I urge the PUC to deny both the certificate of need and the routing permit to Line 3. Thank you.
Philip Wallace, W-A-L-L-A-C-E. I'm here today in support of the Line 3 replacement project and supporting the commission of their previous decisions of permitting this project. But, you know, you can't be too careful. So that's why we've got a 13,000-page ESI statement to revise it and study. I think it is appropriate for the protection of the environment. You know, Enbridge is wanting to protect the environment of Minnesota with building a brand new state-of-the-art pipeline and taking the old pipeline out of service that has been providing fossil fuel to this country and this state since what, the early 60s, late 50s. You know, we want to get rid of that pipeline with a brand new one that we can maintain and maintain it for many years. You know, this fossil fuel, we're not done with it yet. You know, that's our goal, to be totally green. You know, wind power, you know, that's a great thing. But it produces 6% of the energy that this country needs. Solar produces, you know, around 1.5 to 2% of the country, what we have to have. So we're looking at, you know, 97, 96% of our energy comes from fossil fuels. We can't just flip the switch and stop providing energy through fossil fuels. And, you know, transporting this by a brand new state-of-the-art pipeline is the smart thing to do, to keep it off the railroad tracks, off the rail cars. You know, the railroads were built many years ago to provide transportation to these small towns. It goes through every town. Enbridge, you know, they take measures to avoid these lines going, and, you know, planning for a spill to avoid these little towns. So I would like to, you know, ask you to provide the permits for this project.
Hello, my name is Dan McGowan, D-A-N-M-C-G-O-W-A-N. I'm an organizer with LIUNA of Minnesota and North Dakota. Line 3 is the most studied pipeline in the state's history, and it's shown that it needs to be replaced, right? So newer isn't always necessarily better, but in the case of this pipeline, it is. I live in Stacy, Minnesota, and I have a pipeline that runs through my property. If that pipeline had been studied as much as Line 3 has been studied and shown that it needed to be replaced, I would absolutely want it replaced. We also have the skilled workforce that can get this job done safely and get it done right, and I think it's time to move this project forward. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Robert Durant, and the name is spelled correctly. I am here hoping that this year will go forward and get done. I think of a lot of the things that are going to happen if this old line or when it's going to break. I hear a lot of different sides of this here story and the issues. And I'm going to tell you, I'm a Native American first. I have 2 honorable discharges in the military, and nobody speaks for me. I speak from my heart. I'm concerned of what is already here, and we all know that there's almost 400,000 miles of pipe in this world, in this nation. We have some of it that needs to be replaced. And when this here does get replaced, I want to let you know that I've been working with a group of people that we've been training tribally cultural sensitive issues. Tribal historical preservation programs. We have people that are willing to be out there and are going to be there to have oversight. If there are any issues that need to be done, there's going to be a stop action. Things like that are being taken in consideration. We will do the best that we can to protect what we got. We have to, I feel that we're almost our last line of defense, but when this year happens, until the world changes, this stuff has to go, and it has to get done before it's too late. And I mean that with the bottom of my heart.
Good morning. My name is Nairi Kudrowski. I'll spell my name. Nyreekedrowski. And I'm for Line 3. I support Line 3 and the permits that should be given. Speaking in as a Native American across the country, we're all protectors of this planet. But unfortunately, we consume energy. We use it in our everyday lives. We use it to warm our homes, run our cars. It's in the everyday things that we have. Everyone here has it, a phone, water bottles, plastics. That's where the oil comes from. There's many products from that. Until we stop using all those, the demand is going to be high. And I don't see our society getting away from that. Yes, we have green technologies. But until we get into those products, this is what the way of life is going to be for now. So until I wholeheartedly believe that Enbridge has all the safety regulations in place. They train, they go above and beyond what you are asking them to do. So I fully support Line 3, and I ask you that you approve these permits. Thank you.
My name is Scott Peters, S-C-O-T-T-P-E-T-E-R-S. I have a question for the audience today. Who drove here today? Raise your hand if you did, please. Who drove here in a 1968 Chevy or anything from the 60s? Raise your hand. It's time to update the 1968 line, or whatever year it was built, finalized. I guess that's, it's old. Everything gets tired. You guys have heard all that. I'm from a county up in northwestern Minnesota. I'm a county auditor. I also live next to the line. I've lived there my entire life. I farm over it. We hunt over it. We do whatever with it. Enbridge has been a good neighbor. As far as the counties in northwestern Minnesota, the 8 of them have ratified with resolutions for support of the line. You guys got to do your job. Super Bowl's coming up. You guys are like the refs in the Super Bowl right now. So you guys have made a call already. Patrick Mahomes threw a touchdown to, what's the guy's name? One of their receivers. Hill, Tyreek Hill. And you called it a touchdown. You did that once already with your first statement. It's under booth review right now, so I hope you guys can come out with and uphold your original call. Thank you.
Hi, I'm actually speaking on behalf of James Melvin. My name is Brenna Doheny. It's BRENNADOHENY. I'm an environmental health scientist, and I work with health professionals for a healthy climate. My colleague, Dr. Sarapanini, earlier gave you a document that we prepared investigating the health impacts of Line 3, and we created that document because we believe that the EIS is inadequate because it does not adequately address the health impacts of this construction project. In fact, it's actually a failure of many of the environmental review processes that they don't include health impact assessments. And from our research and looking into that, we think that there are many ways, both directly and indirectly, that this project will cause severe risk to health of Minnesotans. The actual risk to environmental habitat of the wetlands that the pipeline construction will pass through. Degradation of that habitat will create more flood risk in the state and has been spoken and addressed by other commenters today. You know, flooding is a severe risk both for economic damages and health damages as well. The pipeline, of course, also poses risks to our drinking water supply and clean water in general due to the toxic chemicals that are actually carried in that pipeline. But most importantly of all are the indirect impacts on health that the pipeline will have by exacerbating climate change. Climate change has been called the greatest public health threat of the 21st century, and we're not adequately addressing it. As other health professionals have spoken today, you diagnose a problem, you treat it, right? And we're not actually adequately treating this problem in the way that we should. I think it's telling that a number of the speakers who have come in and testified against the pipeline today are youth who are really struggling with a great deal of anxiety and despair about their future. And that's another one of these health impacts of climate change that we are failing to address by continuing to increase our reliance on fossil fuels and exacerbating climate damage. So we do request that you feel free to take a look at what we've presented to you in that document and consider it. Consider the impacts to the health of Minnesotans and do not approve the permits for this project. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Christina Johnson. I am 16 years old. I'm a junior from Hinckley-Vinland High School, a couple hours north of here, actually. I recently became a member of an organization called Yeah Minnesota, which stands for Youth Environmental Activists. They are supported and funded by Climate Generation, another organization I have recently became a part of. Throughout this, I have developed enough information to learn my opinion through this, and I know now that this is not the right action to be taken. I know that I probably don't understand as much as anyone else in this room about this topic, but I do know that I know enough to have an accurate opinion on it. I think we have to look forward and start making proactive decisions instead of reactive, and I feel like we are reacting to a deteriorating environment and the concern of another oil leak. For years, we have neglected the environment, and we have to be the generation to change that. We, as in the people here today, the people at home, the people that are going to read about this tomorrow, the youth in Minnesota, and the people that just have overall concern for the community. Yeah, thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Hello, Commissioners. My name is Chief Kenneth Chalmers, C-H-A-L-M-E-R-S. I'm from Berthail Sioux Dakota Nation in southwestern Manitoba, Canada. This is Dakota Territory. We were expelled from Minnesota after the Minnesota Wars, and we're currently, as Canada say, refugees in Canada. But I'm here on behalf of our nation and the meaningful engagement we had with Enbridge. I have a letter here with me from 10 tribes. There is the Blackfoot, the Cree, the Saulteaux, the Dakota, Lakota, Nakota, Ojibwe, and Anishinaabe. Signed letters from these chiefs right across Canada that the right-of-way of the Line 3 replacement went through. My community in the last 20 years, we suffered from horrible situations, mold, rats in our homes, suicides, the highest rates, even the United Nations recognized it, 9 kids in a year for 2 years straight. And we decided to go economic development with, and one of the first people we seen was Enbridge, who had an old line going through our territory. So we engaged with them. We did well over $40 million worth of subcontracting with our companies. We now renovated every homes, and our children live in rat-free homes and mold-free homes, and they can go to school and study. And we currently have 37 new graduates from a graduate of 40 years with only 4. You know, this meaningful engagement for all of us in the First Nation countries. Nobody came around when my people were dying in poverty, and where was the help? But I sure in hell hear from these people here that they're in our names when they need us for some sort of activism on Enbridge. But Enbridge just came through. Their socioeconomic program for the First Nations in Canada was really good. And like I'm here, I'm a supporter of these pipelines. We traditionally worry about these pipelines, but we actively patrol these pipelines, and we don't want one drop in our territory, but we will actively watch out for our people and our country, and hopefully our territories in the U.S. Thank you very much. I'll hand this over to the Commission.
Thank you.
Jean Ross, JeanRoss, with vote-climate.org. Our organization has been working with our allies and our Indigenous friends to stop oil pipelines in our state. Myself personally, for about 7 years, we had success stopping Enbridge's Sandpiper pipeline, but not so much with the Alberta Clipper Line 67. Enbridge's illegal scheme for Line 67 violated federal law by using a piece of a proposed new and not yet permitted Line 3 pipeline to cross the border with Canada. The U.S. State Department allowed Enbridge to build a small piece of the new Line 3 at the border and then funnel all the Alberta Clipper oil through it. We called this scheme the double cross or the switcheroo. Now we face another double cross, with Enbridge's preferred route for Line 3 crossing the headwaters of the Mississippi River two times. And Enbridge is responsible for the 2 largest oil spills in North America, and we're considering allowing this irresponsible company to risk our precious headwaters. The Minnesota PUC should never have granted Enbridge the preferred route permit because this route follows some of the most pristine waters left in our state and in the world. If any of the toxic chemical-laden tar sands oil that would flow through Line 3 if it were built would leak into the Mississippi River or the Lake Superior watershed, it could potentially poison the drinking water source for everyone downstream on the Mississippi, folks living in St. Cloud and the Twin Cities, everyone living downstream from St. Louis on the St. Louis River, folks living on Fond du Lac and Duluth and Superior. These communities can't drink oil. For many reasons, the revised FEIS that includes oil spill modeling for only Little Otter Creek is too narrow and therefore completely inadequate. Stopping Line 3 is personal for me. I have Native American friends I've made in these pipeline fights, and none of their tribes want these new pipelines. Fond du Lac was put in a position of accepting one of 2 really bad options, looking at this as the opportunity to right a wrong and honor the treaties. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, and thank you for having me. I'm here talking on behalf of Peter Schulter. My name is Ben Gruschel. He has ceded me his time.
Could you spell your...
Groeschl. I'm going to go through your briefing paper and the 3 points that you have wanted us to address. My question is, it's 2020, and does the state receive monthly flow measurements? What new technology have they deployed in the last decade that previous decade did not have? How did the Kalamazoo spill even happen? They say Line 3 is super unsafe, and they have to keep doing integrity digs. But they fail to mention that Line 1 and 2 are past their due date already. Not only that, it's quite a conundrum since I personally bore witness to an integrity dig that removed contaminated soil, and it had to be on Line 1 or 2. Not only that, but nor in the filings ordered by consent decree, during that time frame can I find any evidence of that integrity dig being reported. After tribes walked my route because of current last-minute route change, J.P. Rausch was on scene with Enbridge and even admitted he had not notified me and they were currently trespassing. Enbridge is doing mainline optimizations leading to additional 350K barrels. That's basically the exact amount Line 3 is currently pumping at its reduced capacity. They keep talking about contracts about not reversing Line 13 because they have them up until 2040. However, in last spring's shareholder meeting, they were trying to either soothe their shareholders with lies or they're currently lying to you. I asked for a request to have a redacted version of these contracts put into record and an eyes-only version for you yourselves to see. Landowner Troy... In 1978, the People for Environmental Alignment and Responsibility showed that it is committed to non-proliferation, which means that existing routes should be utilized. It also established that landowners and homeowners along the route have affected hearing. At the Duluth hearing, I personally handed a USB drive to Louis Mitlich. She said, in fact, she was going to hand it off to Scott Eck, sitting right over there. In evidence, this right here is a sign of an aquatic management area telling me what I can or cannot do on it. Right here is evidence, an ongoing leak right now. I have a soil sample. Right here is the pipe.
Sir, your time is up, too.
And right here, finally, shows that this is a designated trout stream, right here. This is on the route. Thank you for your time. I'm glad to have this opportunity to speak with you because I wasn't able to do so last time. Thank you. Appreciate your time.
The other people on the list are welcome to come forward.
Good morning, Commission, Madam Chair. My name is Bradford Benner. My name is spelled correctly, and I am here to show solidarity with the indigenous nations within Minnesota. I grew up in St. Paul, the east side of St. Paul, blocks away from the 3M plants at the time. We could smell the fumes going to the grocery store. Environmental justice is near and dear to my heart, and I will not stand idly by as the fossil fuel industry worsens the lives of those who are most vulnerable in this state. And commissioners, I ask that you consider the toxic threat that is likely across this that may as well be across the street from each of your streets, and that is the threat of climate change. And that you will have the courage to join me. And oppose the Line 3 pipeline. Thank you, and I cede the rest of my time, and I see I have no more time left. Thank you very much.
Good morning. Thank you, folks, for your efforts these long years to get this pipe either approved or not. I believe in that, and Enbridge and their ability to build a safe, productive pipeline. My name is Ken Duncanson. The spelling is correct. I begin with a verse of scripture from God's holy word, the Bible. It says, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. And then in Colossians chapter 1, verses 16 and 17, it says, for in him all things were created, things in heaven and on earth, visible and invisible, whether thrones or powers or rulers or authorities, all things have been created through him and for him. He is before all things, and in him all things hold together or consist. There's been a lot of discussion about climate. God, our Creator, is taking care of our climate. He has not failed. Thank you.
Ma'am, if your name is on the list, you're welcome to come forward.
Good morning. My name is Katherine Iverson. I'm a retired health professional or public health consultant, and I continue to be a volunteer with Health Professionals for a Healthy Climate. I am here, first of all, to express my deepest appreciation for the opportunity to speak with all of you today. All of us here have been given the chance to respectfully listen and learn about our vision for the future. My comment is on the application for a certificate of need for the Line 3 replacement project. When I was growing up back in the 50s, my family spent countless hours in Minnesota state parks, on her beautiful lakes, and along the grand shoreline of Lake Superior. It was a collection of experiences that deeply affected my life. That translates into a profound desire to preserve this very special place. Yet, there are millions of Minnesotans who are here now and are yet to be born, whose future is dependent upon us to be courageous and to make difficult decisions. We are not alone. We do have each other to solve our future with creative, engaging, and caring approaches as we move through a new way of developing and maintaining our society's energy systems through clean, renewable energy. Line 3 would carry tar sands oil, some of the dirtiest oil in the world, and the most difficult to clean when it spills. How does this vision match up with our beautiful Minnesota? With deep respect for the Native people of Minnesota, we are obligated to provide the rights of the Ojibwe in their 1855 Treaty for Hunting, Fishing, and Wild Rice Harvesting. This project would greatly impact their tribal lands and rights. Okay, now I'm going to skip over a little bit here because some of this has been said previously, but I want you to know that according to the Yale Climate Opinion Maps from April 2019, 66% of Minnesotans say that global warming is happening. 71% of Minnesotans believe that global warming will harm future generations. The cost to change our energy systems will actually be a win-win for all Minnesotans. The future shows us that clean energy jobs, and the economic opportunities throughout the state of Minnesota will provide renewable energy for all of us. And just so you know, in the business world, consumers are demanding clean energy, businesses are recognizing the risks associated with fossil fuels and are incorporating clean energy into their long-term strategic goals. In the paper today, GM is going to bring back the electric Hummer, or bring the Hummer out as an electric vehicle. So I think that tells a lot. Thank you so much. And one more very quick thing. Please deny the certificate of need. And it's going to be one of the greatest decisions of your life. Thank you.
If any of the people on the list want to speak, you need to come forward now. Otherwise, we're going to add some more names to the list. Might take a little bit to come in from the other room. That's why these names are displayed in the other room. So if you see your name come up, you're welcome to come into this room now.
Hi, Allison Breen is having me speak for her because she had to go.
Can you state your name, please?
My name is Priya Dalal Whalen. I'm 17, and I'm supposed to be in high school right now.
Can you?
PRIYA-DALL-WHELAN. I'm here on behalf of thousands of kids who are in school right now, who couldn't miss class, even though they wanted to. In 2018, the United Nations released the Ipcc report and told us we had 12 years to avert total climate disasters, to leave a world in which me and my generation could grow up. 2 years later, we haven't seen any real change. What we have seen are more and more fires, droughts, and hurricanes that drive people from their homes, ruin our economy, and claim millions of lives. In Minnesota, we're seeing an influx of refugees and temperatures all over the place. I've heard predictions that by the time I'm an adult, our summers will feel like they do in Kansas right now. Minnesota is already moving towards clean energy. It's 100% possible for my generation to grow up in a world that runs on 100% clean energy. So why would we be building a large expansion of a dying industry? People often congratulate me for caring about the environment. If this were about nature, I would care, but I would probably be back in class right now. Unfortunately, I'm here because this is about people's lives. If we choose to build this project, nothing else we do to fight climate change in these next 10 years is going to matter. Minnesota's legacy will be a huge expansion of a project at exactly the wrong time. I can leave all the technical details to adults, but me and my generation know one thing. If you build this, you're saying that you don't care about our futures and that you care only about expanding the current destructive economy. And I think my time's up.
Thank you. Sir, we already heard from you today, and one of our requests at the beginning of the meeting was to hear from people once. So let's give other people an opportunity first who have already been on the list. So if your name is on the list and you'd like to speak, please come forward now.
Can I say
No.
one item?
You can't.
Can I enter into evidence?
You can give some more papers to our staff, but we want to give as many people a chance to speak. Is your name on the list, sir? Yes. Great, come forward.
Good morning, Commissioners, and thank you for your service. My name is Freeman, and I serve as the mindfulness teacher at the Boundless Love Project. I would like to start my comments with some words of prayer, and I invite you all to join me. Dear Heavenly Guardian of our understanding, thank you for this precious and beautiful life you have blessed us with. Thank you for putting your divine spark in all of us that we may know your boundless, all-inclusive, and infinite love and wisdom, and that we may know our oneness. All life is an interconnected fabric of mutuality, where my health and welfare depends on yours, and yours depends on mine. And all beings depend on each other and a planet with a healthy climate, safe water, and fertile lands.
As we engage this discussion about whether or not to replace Line 3, may we do so in goodwill and friendliness, recognizing that all people and all feeling beings want to be peaceful and happy and allowed to thrive. Please give us your love and wisdom now, so going forward, we may make plans that serve and benefit all of our extended family, humans, wildlife, ecosystems, and climate, that we may become a beloved community where all life thrives. Lord, please forgive us. For too long, we have been willing to make deals that seemingly benefit some of us, but because we are all one, it is truly at the expense of all of us. Please give us the courage, love, wisdom, creativity, and strength to only implement plans that benefit and serve all people, all beings, all ecosystems, and the climate we depend on, and our children, grandchildren, and all generations, both human and animal, that will follow us. Amen. On behalf of the Boundless Love Project and out of love for all life, we oppose the building of Line 3. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, my last name is Wickland, and it's spelled correctly.
Greta Larson, Dean Smith, Jamie Jones, or Ivan Nakarud.
Hello, thank you for hearing me today. And thank you to everyone here. I think now is the time in our time that's happening right now is to listen to our indigenous relatives. There is a demand for oil through force. Why are people murdered who make cars that run on water? We don't need to mine lithium. Why are people that are competitors of oil companies being murdered by oil companies? Why is Enbridge clearing natural growth when their project has not yet been approved? Look at what the elites have been doing for a very long time in Bohemian Grove. They worship Moloch. There are other ways, cleaner forms of energy that are being hidden. The ancient pyramids were all on ley lines or synchronitic lines. All the information from Egypt was taken to the Library of Alexandria. Julius Caesar supposedly burnt the Library of Alexandria, but a lot of that knowledge was stolen by the Vatican. It is still being kept secret, the Vatican. This information is being kept from all of us. You, all of us. We don't need to extract things out of the earth. We need to stop polluting the water with extraction and pipeline spills. Enbridge has a bad track record of spills. Why should we trust their promises when they've had huge spills for days without being addressed by the company? It's your responsibility, all of our responsibility. Your children and future generations are more important than your job and payoffs. Please, for the future health of people, deny the certificate of need and certificate of route. Stop the man camps and bring our stolen sisters home. Jamie Lee Jones. I live in Minneapolis.
Hello, my name is Ivan Nakarud, as it is spelled correctly on the board. Let's not forget about this land we are standing on. It is built off of the death of Indigenous people. I understand wanting jobs. I understand wanting to create a business. And as this capitalistic world is, it's built off of money. And can we not forget about that treaty made in 1855? Will be thrown away because you choose to have money over, the rights of people. And I can feel the pain of this world. And once I have children, they will feel the pain of this world as well. But I cannot stand for what is happening, as oil is not a non-renewable source, and should stay in the earth where it belongs. Thank you.
If your name is on the list, then you're welcome to come forward. Otherwise, we'll draw 5 new names.
Oh, Ndishinakaski Wade Nukwe, Giwedinoookwe. Hello, in the white man world, I'm known as Lorna Haynes. I oppose the line. I've been through this for 6 or 5 years or 7 years, however long this has been going on, and I've been to all the meetings, and I'm kind of tired of it, you know. I don't approve of the line 3. I fear for the women and children here, for the missing Indigenous women here, missing and murdered Indigenous women. That will come with your camps, and all the blood will be on your hands. On your hands, not mine, yours. But obviously you don't give her crap. He's over here writing, she's looking at her computer, and you're smiling. Hello. But I'm very concerned about that, and so should you. I've been reading your book, the Bible. I've been reading a lot about it, looking up some things, and I think my favorite part in it is Revelations. And if you read that, let alone in Revelations also, at the very beginning of your book, what does it say? And then in the Revelations, what does it say about you? But what I'm asking is that I know that we can change together. I know that I know you don't like your jobs. I can tell. And I was at a event that there was a comedy about it. And you guys were there and we shut it down because we don't think it's funny. I don't think it's funny. And my people don't think it's funny. My little ones don't think it's funny. They're very concerned. My niece is worried that she won't be able to harvest wild rice. She won't be able to take me ricing when I'm 70, 80 years old. As she's watched me do to my elders, with my elders, that's who I prefer to go harvesting wild rice, maple syrup. And I will have a sugar camp right on the line, right up by the Mississippi Headwaters, or right about the Mississippi crossing on the Great River Road. I had one there last year, and I got so harassed. And I'm still getting harassed to this day. Oh, sorry about that. But yeah, we're not going anywhere. We've always been here, and we always will be. And I'm sorry to the sellout of my nation. And it's horrible.
If your name's on the list, you're welcome to come forward.
My name is Sharon Natzel, and it's S-H-A-R-O-N, Natzel, N-A-T-Z-E-L, and I'm a private citizen. Thank you for the opportunity to be here today. If the PUC chooses to ignore the Department of Commerce findings that the proposed project is not needed, then the action that the Commission may take on the Line 3 new corridor pipeline routing permit is to use the existing Enbridge corridor that now contains Line 3. This in-place scenario preserves and protects northern Minnesota's healthiest lakes, rivers, and wetlands from a new corridor. One of our greatest Minnesota resources is our fresh water. Healthy, clean water is part of our northern Minnesota tourism. We should not risk polluting this Minnesota resource over the 50-year life of this proposed new corridor pipeline project, which will leak. Moving a corridor does not protect the water. Water is also in demand in other areas and will be even more in demand with the growing climate change. Currently in Laverne, Minnesota, in southwestern Minnesota and the corner of Iowa and South Dakota, the Lewis and Clark water system serves 20 cities and rural water systems. In November of 2019, a Lakeville company a rail company, Awaken Minnesota, with a proposed bulk water export to a company in Oregon, where it would then be distributed to western states like Colorado. The route needs to be in place so no new water is exposed to oil spill pollution. Thank you.
Thank you.
Paula Foley is ceding her time to me, so my name isn't up there.
Can you just state it loudly for the court reporter, please?
My name is Gail Loverud, Gail Loverud, Loverud. I don't believe the revised FEIS for the Certificate of Need is adequate, as Minnesota doesn't really need any more fossil fuels, as stated by the Minnesota Department of Commerce. What we need is a lot more renewable energies and solar and wind. Minnesota cannot be passive onlookers. 3,400 acres of wild rice lakes are within 10 miles downstream from the Enbridge pipeline route. Minnesota is wild rice. Big Sandy Lake is 3.3 miles from Line 3 and is hydrologically connected to a pipeline spill, according to Enbridge. And Enbridge hydrologist said 215 of our Minnesota lakes would be hydrologically connected over the pipeline's 340-mile route. A number of months ago, quite a few of us went up to visit LaSalle Lake and LaSalle Creek, and that's 4 miles north of Itasca, which is, of course, the real beginning of the Mississippi River. It was the most gorgeous, stunning sight. The Enbridge pipeline crosses that LaSalle Creek. The LaSalle Creek also goes into a bunch of channel lakes, which then empties into the Lake LaSalle, which is the second deepest lake in Minnesota. Minnesota spent $8.5 million to protect the land around this lake. If the pipeline were to rupture here, the Pollution Control Agency said, and this is a quote, "The environmental damage to that lake, to the lake that would occur as a result of a leak at this location could be massive, and the obstacles to contain the leak or performing cleanup activities could be insurmountable," unquote. Northern Minnesota is clean water. There have been 68,000 plus comments against this new Line 3. Now is the time to divest from the fossil fuel industry. Even Larry Fink, the CEO of BlackRock, the world's largest asset manager worth $7 trillion, announced environmental sustainability as a common goal for BlackRock's future investment decisions. He even used the words climate crisis. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Emma McCarthy. I'm a high schooler from St. Paul. The Line 3 pipeline is a clear example of environmental racism. Native people would disproportionately experience the negative impacts of Line 3. It violates treaties and the sovereignty of local tribes. All pipelines, new and old, leak. This pipeline would go through an incredibly water-rich area, which includes Lake Superior's watershed and the Mississippi's. Tar sands oil sinks. We do not have a way to clean it up. It's impossible. As the impacts of the climate crisis become more extreme and drought becomes more frequent and deadly around the world, this fresh water that we have here will become even more precious than it already is. We do not have the luxury to be so careless with this irreplaceable resource. The Line 3 replacement project will make Minnesota economically dependent on fossil fuels for the foreseeable future. We are in a climate crisis. This is not the time to build new fossil fuel infrastructure or replace old fossil fuel infrastructure. It is the time to phase it out. So for those reasons, I believe that the FEIS is inadequate and that the PUC should deny the certificate of need and the routing permit for the Line 3 replacement project. Thank you.
Thank you. If your name is on the list, you can come forward now. Otherwise, we'll add some new names, please. I'm sorry, if your name is on the list, you can come forward now. Otherwise, we'll add new names to the list, please.
Good morning. My name is Kip Hansen. I'm a political organizer for the International Union of Operating Engineers, Local 49. I represent 14,000 members across Minnesota, North Dakota, and South Dakota. Our members know infrastructure, and that's what this project is. It needs to be replaced at this time. If there was a road that was in this shape and this condition, we would be replacing it. If there was a bridge that was in this shape or condition, we would be looking to the future and to replace it. The fact of the matter is, oil, as much as all of us in this room, I think, understand, is in 50 years might not be the preferred source of energy for our society. Right now it is. And we need to make sure that it is transported in the safest way possible and that it is going to be efficiently managed, and Enbridge is the right company to do that. Thank you for your time. And thank you for all of the hard work that you do, because you are an impartial body that is doing this work on behalf and trying to settle this on our behalf. So thank you for that work, and keep it up.
My name is Melissa Hostetler. It is spelled correctly up there. And I am a farmer. I grow vegetables in Minnetrista. And as a farmer, I know the importance of abundant, clean water. If there is no clean water, then there's no food. And it's not just wild rice, it's all meat and all vegetables. This pipeline covers so many miles, so many ecosystems, and so many wetlands. Why is it only focusing on the impact to Lake Superior? Healthy wetland ecosystems are the key to clean water. Someone earlier said that fossil fuels are the key to clean water, and that is not correct. We need healthy wetlands. So to ignore them in this assessment is the height of folly. Climate change every year is making it harder to grow food. Storms are stronger, there's more water in a short amount of time, and then there are long times without water. There's more humidity, which is making plant diseases more rampant, and there are more invasive species and insects. And every year, it is harder to grow food. And that means that you don't have to be directly downstream from a leak in an oil pipeline in order to suffer the effects of this project. We need to say no to this pipeline. The FEIS is not adequate. This project would bring more harm than good to the people and land of Minnesota. The PUC should deny the certificate of need and the route permit. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Julia Abel, and it's spelled correctly. The Line 3 project is an issue of nationwide and global importance. For my testimony, I'm going to read a letter sent from members of Extinction Rebellion Ithaca, in New York State, who are unable to be here in person today, but are paying close attention to this project and hoping for the right decision. They are farmers, musicians, students, educators, and ministers. Here are their words. We, undersigned residents of the Finger Lakes region of New York, urge the Minnesota Public Utilities Commission to deny both the certificate of need and the routing permit for the proposed Line 3 pipeline. The revised final environmental impact statement is not adequate to protect the environment or residents of Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Canada, including Native American nations, and also fails to adequately address atmospheric consequences threatening our entire shared world. Line 3 faces significant public, business, and legal opposition. Minnesota's own Department of Commerce is opposed and is suing the PUC for approving it. The pipeline proposal also threatens the sovereign treaty rights of American Indian nations and faces lawsuits from the White Earth, Red Lake, and Mille Lacs. A spill, likely given Enbridge's history, could devastate areas of wild rice harvesting, hunting, fishing, and other activities protected by treaties with Anishinaabe peoples. As citizens of the U.S. and of a planet increasingly imperiled by heedless development of fossil fuel infrastructure, we are concerned about the well-being of our continent's indigenous American nations, about the threat of dirty tar sands oil spilling into our shared natural areas, especially water sources and wetlands, and about the significant impact the proposed Line 3 pipeline would have on our atmosphere. In the face of a global need to collectively and immediately reduce CO2 emissions, Line 3 would carry oil equivalent to 1.59% of the entire Earth's carbon budget over its lifetime. Writing from hundreds, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Hello. Felicity ceded her time to me. Her name was up. But my name is Frances Weatherall, Frances Wetherall. Especially as a young person, it's really easy to feel hopeless in the face of climate catastrophe, climate change. But I do everything I can to lower my personal use of carbon. A lot of people, well, not a lot of people, but it has been suggested by a few people today that that alone is the answer, that us as individuals have absolute responsibility because of our demand over the negative impacts of carbon and climate change. Well, in this specific case, the Department of Commerce has spoken. There is no demand. As for responsibility, I accept it. Do you? The most cars I'm ever going to drive in my life is one. With this one decision, you have the power to either add 38 million cars worth of carbon into our atmosphere or refuse to. And yes, the project would create jobs for some people and allow them in the short term to provide for their families. And I want to honor those people and that intention, because that intention is my own here. I'm here for their kids too. I'm here for my kids. I'm here for, well, my future kids. I'm here for your kids, your grandkids, your great-great-great-great-great-great-grandkids. And I want to know if you are too. Because frankly, if you aren't in this job for that, what are you here for? Thank you.
My name is Dylan Kilbride. Avik had to leave, but I am here in place of him. Kilbride, Dylan like Bob Dylan. All right. Never done public speaking before, so I'll make this really fast. I work with a number of climate orgs across this city, but today I am here representing myself and only myself. I've seen a number of very important discussions about Enbridge's leaks, about their failures to properly address the environmental impacts of this, but the problem is honestly much bigger than that. Let me tell you something a little bit about my generation. across all the people I've met, around half of them my age do not plan on having children because we do not see a future. For 80 years, we have known climate change was going to lead us to this point, and for 80 years, boards like this one around the country and around the world have failed us. We're not talking about a little bit of warming. We are talking about extinction and the collapse of civilization. I honestly don't think you understand the stakes here, because if you did, we would not have to be here. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Brian Pastar, and that spelling up there is correct. Thanks for allowing the public to speak at this. I've been at many of these over the years, and about 25 years ago, I went to an orthopedic surgeon, and because I was having low back pain, he says, the problem is obvious, Brian. All you have to do, because you're bow-legged, is we'll cut a pie-shaped wedge out of each of your femurs and kind of glue your legs back together, and you'll be better. And I says, are you crazy? I said, that might help out in the short term, but in the long term, I know it's going to leave me with some big health problems. And I think that's what we're looking at with this as well. I think BlackRock Financial, which is the largest financial company in the world, is now advising their clients to divest from fossil fuels because it's not a good investment. This is not a good investment for the state of Minnesota because it gives us short-term benefits like with jobs and all that, and I think that's good for us, but it's bad in the long term. I have sat through many of these and talked to a lot of the Enbridge, future Enbridge employees, if we allow this to be built. They're good people. I want them to have jobs. I don't like this coming down to kind of it's jobs or nothing. I think there's other options. I think we've got options for green jobs. Australia is burning up. We see that 1 billion animals are supposedly dying. California is burning up. Climate change is real. And the IPP says that we have only about 11 years remaining to take care of this. This pipeline will add the equivalent of 50 new coal-fired power plants in greenhouse gases. I urge you to not allow it to be built for myself, my children, my grandchildren, all of your future grandchildren. Replace Line 3, but replace it with something other than this. Replace it with wind and solar and those options that are out there. We need that for our future. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Carol Weston, and my name is spelled correctly. I want to thank you for having this hearing for us this morning and the ability to come and speak with you. And I'm here this morning to voice my opposition to the proposed line, the new Line 3 pipeline through Minnesota. I live in Crystal, Minnesota. I'm retired. I have 3 grandchildren. I have no affiliation to any environmental group. I'm here just for myself and the future. I am worried about the type of world that we will leave for future generations. I oppose the new Line 3 pipeline because it continues our reliance on fossil fuels and will magnify the climate crisis which we are experiencing. I oppose the new Line 3 pipeline because the risks to our water systems are too great. All pipelines will leak at some point in time. Tar sands oil causes the greatest harm when the leak occurs and is the most expensive to try and clean up. I oppose the huge amount of CO2 that will be emitted into the atmosphere from burning the tar sands oil. Any state, local, or individual efforts to reduce our carbon footprint will be totally negated by the amount of CO2 that's emitted by the burning of this type of oil. I oppose the pipeline because the economics of the pipeline doesn't make sense to me. And our own Minnesota Department of Commerce opposed the pipeline. In 2020, state energy investments need to be made into clean energy sources. Energy products need to be evaluated based on their long-term climate effects with the goal of reducing the negative environmental health impacts. Long-term costs from damages to our infrastructures, homes, businesses, and land because of climate change-related damages need to be included in your decision-making. For me, the risks are too great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, good morning, and thank you for this opportunity. My name is Christy Manning, and my name is spelled correctly up there on the screen. I hold a PhD in cognitive and biological psychology from the University of Minnesota and a bachelor's of science in engineering from Tufts University. Since 2000, I've been conducting academic research in the field of psychology and sustainability. My specific research topic is climate change, and I examine both the human response to the issue as well as its social and mental health impacts. Since 2007, I've been teaching at the university level in environmental studies. I've also, for the last 19 years, been teaching and conducting research around the impacts of climate change, specifically the mental health impacts of climate change on people and communities. And so I want to add to the testimony today with my background and knowledge. I'll start just by re-emphasizing the urgency. I read reports in Science and Nature, and a recent one in November suggests that we are in a state of planetary emergency. Both the risk and the urgency of the situation are acute. And they end this paper with, "We should leave remaining stocks of fossil fuel in the ground." Building a tar sands pipeline, such as Line 3, is exactly the opposite of what the world scientists are imploring us to do. My own research also shows that climate change and pipeline fossil fuel infrastructure does have significant mental health impacts on people. One is the extreme events. We see it in Australia right now, but we also have seen some of it in Minnesota in extreme storms. These things leave people traumatized, and a certain number, around 7 to 40%, depending on the study, are long-term impacted with anxiety, depression, and other mental health impacts. The second way that climate change impacts mental health is through the chronic, longer-term, more gradual things that are happening, are winter weather. I guess I'll end just by saying that I work with young people. I hear climate anxiety on a daily basis. I hear the questions of why am I bothering? What am I doing? Should I have children? And so I implore you to put a stop to this project. Thank you.
Chair Sieben, Commissioners, Chair Sieben and Commissioners, my name is John Capital O'Brien, Kappedal-O'Brien. I am a LIONA member and a second-generation pipeliner, and I support Line 3 because it not only affects me personally and my family. I have both my parents live up north in Trail, Minnesota. They both are pipeliners, and they've worked on Line 3. They are also farmers in the area, and this is a economical and beneficial way for them to make money up. Living up north, there isn't much ways to make money. There's either trucking, farming, or pipelining. And without jobs like these, they may say temporary, but there's always going to be maintenance on these lines. And this is not only helps farmers, people, it's what they need to survive up there. It's not easy. I know from firsthand working with Enbridge, they hold their contractors and their workers to a higher expectation. Their training is a day long, just in training, environmental and safety containments, everything related to that. Crude oil also is used for more than just petroleum, gasoline. It's also used for medical life-saving devices in medical fields that are made here right in Minnesota. And if we do not replace this line, the oil's still going to come one way or another, by rail car, by tankers, overseas. It's not a fix to put a Band-Aid on it. If we really want to fix it, we have to replace it. And right now, Canada and Wisconsin both have fixed theirs. We are the weak link in the chain, and you're only as strong as your weakest link. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. Yate, Shedye, Marcus Mitchell, Yenisne, na Sergeant Hobahan, and Sle, Kia Anibas, Sheen, Nakardine, Dashte, Bedet, and Dashnale. I'm going to be speaking for Francis Wetherill. I bring my opinion in my presence here to acknowledge the Dakota, Lakota, and Nakota people, for the Ojibwe people, for all the tribes that are here. This is their land. I strongly disagree with y'all if y'all make this decision to approve the permits to this pipeline, whether it's good for the families, whether it's good for the economic sovereignty of the United States. The indigenous people do not approve of this land, do not approve of this pipeline whatsoever, of how it's being treated, of how the indigenous people are being treated. It is not right. When we as American citizens, as the United States of America, we express our right, to freedom express, express ourselves as us as people. When we talk about human rights, when we talk about sovereignty, we have to talk about equal rights as American citizens. And a lot of the people that are facing this, they're not being treated with the utmost respect. They're not treated with the rights that they have. A lot of you guys, what do you guys think about this? I want to ask one of you guys. I want to ask you. I want to ask y'all, what do y'all think about this? And how does it make you feel? And how you're going to continue to wake up every morning. And you know that it's not the right thing to do. In your conscience, it's not the right thing to do. Being aware, be aware of what's going to happen, of what comes. Because how are we going to grow out of this as human beings? We make mistakes. But how are we going to grow out of this together? We do this for the water. We do this for the land. We do this for the people. It's who we are as the net people. It's who we are as human beings. It's our obligation and our responsibility to preserve and protect what we have left, because it's all we have left, even if it's just a little bit. Thank you very much. Okay.
Good morning, Madam Chair and Commissioners. My name is Eric Simonson. That's E-R-I-K-S-I-M-O-N-S-O-N. State Senator representing most of the city of Duluth. I wanted to appear before you today as you hear public testimony prior to taking your next action on Enbridge's proposed Line 3 replacement. As a representative of nearly 80,000 constituents in the largest city in the Northland, I felt it was important for you to hear the voices that I am hearing, those voices who do not have the ability or the time to be here today or most any other day. As we all know, this project has become all too political. My first point is to thank each of you for your continued ability to separate the politics and the emotions from the facts of the case, and of course the underlying law, which you must follow. This is not an easy task, and we all as Minnesotans should be grateful for your service and abilities. As they say, let the politicians manage the drama of the legislation, and let those tasked with regulation manage the evidences of each case presented in accordance with the law. I can share with you that a majority of my constituents who weigh in on this matter with myself favor the replacement of Line 3. They seem to clearly understand the gravity of not replacing an aged line, and they also understand that the world is not likely going to divest itself from fossil fuel sources in the near future. I feel they also understand and respect the process for those who challenge the merits of the project, for them to voice their opinions, be heard through opportunities like this, and understand that these practices are part of our democracy. But they also encourage closure, and I express theirs as well as my own, encourage encouragement to consider only the factual evidence as it relates to the questions at hand, and ultimately support the revised EIS and Certificate of Need. Again, I represent a wide variety in a very diverse district, and the common and most powerful message to me is let's finish the process and move on. I do not deny that the questions before you are difficult, but you have all proven to be effective and fair regulators, and on behalf of myself and my constituents, we only ask that you continue the course of weighing evidence of facts. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Senator. If your name is on the list, you're welcome to come forward. We'll keep adding a few names to the list here to move this process along.
Madam Chair, Joe Meinholz gave me his time to speak. I'm Senator John Marty, and I really appreciate the chance to speak. As of December, I'm a new grandfather, and I'm scared for the future of my grandkids. Your previous decision here seemed to rely on not on the need for tar sands oil to be transported, but on your belief that you had no choice. Without the replacement, Enbridge would continue using the unsafe existing pipeline. But the DOJ consent decree makes it clear the existing line cannot continue to operate without major costly improvements. Blocking the replacement does not mean continued use of the existing line. And without the pipeline, economics of tar sands extraction, which are already costly, don't make sense, and oil companies are going to leave the tar sands in the ground. Expanding rail is too expensive. And your decision here is a litmus test of whether we're serious about climate. It may be the most important decision you make in your service to the PUC. All of Minnesota's efforts to address climate are undercut if we approve consideration to facilitate the production of the most carbon-intense oil. A 2017 report from the National Academy of Sciences said there's a 1 in 20 chance global temps would rise by 5 degrees Celsius by the end of the century. It's far worse than the 2-degree rise that the Paris Accords committed to preventing. It described 5 degrees as beyond catastrophic because it threatens human existence. One of the scientists put it in perspective. How many of us would put our grandchildren on an airplane if we knew there was a 1 in 20 chance the plane would crash? Certainly, the economy will continue to use fossil fuels as we transition, but this project makes our greenhouse gas emissions even worse. A report released yesterday says it equals 50 coal plants. Despite current efforts, we emit carbon faster than any time in human history. We're on a speeding train headed for a catastrophic cliff with our foot on the accelerator. Please don't say you can't help it, that it must be decided on other factors. That's the excuse we use far too often. That's why Greta Thunberg and her generation are rightly scolding us. We've been unwilling to take responsibility for the catastrophe we're bringing to their future. Not one of you would put your children or grandchildren on an airplane that's got a real chance of crashing. This decision must be seen in that light. I'm scared for all of our children and grandchildren's future, and please reject this unneeded project.
Thank you, Senator.
My name is Helena Squires-Mosher. I'm an 11th grader here in St. Paul, and I believe that the final environmental impact study is not adequate and that you should not grant Line 3 further permits. As you have heard today, Line 3 would greatly contribute to the disastrous effects of climate change. It violates multiple treaties. The man camps that would be put the pipeline in would bring sexual assault and violence, targeting primarily Indigenous women. You can, of course, look deeper into these effects and the costs, but I believe you also have more than enough information right now. I think you know the right choice. Choose people's lives over profits. Rule the Line 3 final study inadequate and not allow the project's permits. Thank you.
My name is Dan Levine, and the last name is spelled L-A, capital V-I-G-N-E. I live here in Shoreview, and I'm just an older, concerned Minnesota citizen. I am not officially speaking for any group or any organization. I worked in a high-tech industry, working on mainframe computers and things like that, so I have a little bit of an idea about engineering and science. But I'm going to take a little different view here, a different perspective, and a procedural view. The current concern is the Lake Superior watershed, and this is a very large system and is partially defined by the continental Laurentian divide. It's not necessary to test the whole system, but there needs to be more than just a couple data points or simulations. If I might use an analogy of the 4 blind men and the elephant, that you all probably know, the first man examines the trunk and he declares that the animal is a snake-like animal. The second man examines the leg and claims it's more like a column or a tree, and the third man is at the side of the elephant and says, no, it's more like a wall. The fourth man holds the tail and claims it's a rope or a vine. So it is inadequate to define an object with just a couple of data points, let alone a large, complex system like the Lake Superior watershed. So I conclude that the scientific procedure for that revised FEIS is inadequate. If for some unknown reason this pipeline is built, well, what happens then? Well, as you know, there already exists a formidable opposition to Line 3, and it is growing more every day because of increased awareness of the climate crisis. Should it be operational, there will be efforts to shut it down. 5 years from now, the opposition will be huge and will probably succeed. Surely 10 years out, it will be intuitively obvious to the most casual observer that burning dirty tar sands fossil fuel will be forbidden. But then the significant damage will have been done to our planet, and it will be partially us to blame. And what will Minnesota have gained? Not energy, because the tar sands oil will merely pass through Minnesota to Superior, Wisconsin, and from there to be shipped out to the world market.
Sir, your time is up. So if you could wrap up, please.
Oh, thank you, sorry.
Okay, thank you. Either one of you, if your name's on the list, you're welcome to come forward.
Are we ready?
Please.
My name is Bill Hetler, and it's spelled correctly up there. I'm 76 years old. I've been on this planet for, part of my 8th decade already. I have 2 stories to tell you. One, you've heard of New York City? Millions of people living in a very tight spot. Why do they have clean water? They have clean water because in the 1800s, some very, very forward-thinking people decided to go up into the Catskill Mountains, identify huge watersheds, build dams, and then build huge tunnels that dump trucks can drive through to get clean water to that future metropolis. Second story, I come from Wisconsin, central Wisconsin. There were cities within a bike ride of my house that it was not safe to drink the water anymore out of the ground. The reason was we allowed farmers to pour pesticides onto a sandy soil that would immediately leach into the groundwater. Proper prior planning prevents poor performance practically permanently. My kids hate it when I say that. I'm encouraging you to take that long view. Let's not be like all these corporate execs who are looking at the next quarter at most, or maybe 2 quarters out. Let's look to the long view. As some of the indigenous people say, 7 generations ahead. I have 30 seconds left. I hope you use it wisely. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Soren Sorensen, and my name is spelled correctly. I'm a resident of Beltrami County, and I am really familiar with the pipeline right-of-way on the border of Beltrami County and Clearwater County. And it turns out that site that I've been commenting on throughout this process is a high potential zone identified by the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service for the rusty-patched bumblebee, it's Bombus affinis. It's a U.S. Federally listed endangered species. That was listed as an endangered species 2 days before the State Department's OES had its public meeting in Bemidji, consulting with the tribes in our area. So it was overlooked by the feds and the State Department in their engagement with those sovereign tribes in our area. I have confined my comments on Enbridge Line 3 very narrowly to vegetation, even though I believe that the complaints and criticisms around climate change are very real. And I did so because at that time of the Enbridge Line 67 presidential permit for the border crossing to allow for the expansion of the Enbridge system, we knew that the Trump administration would dismiss climate change. I am a plant biologist. I've worked on vegetation surveys and remediation for Federal Cartridge Company and the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers on the Twin City Army Ammunition Plant. And I've undertaken courses in plant ID at the University of the Netherlands, at the National Herbarium of the Netherlands. And I'm pretty familiar with the plants of that area. There are a large number of plants that match a high coefficient of conservatism that are slated for destruction along the new proposed route that, like this site, would indicate a high potential of more locations of this federally endangered bumblebee species, and I'll pass my maps to your staff. Thank you. Do I have another second? I did submit, most recently, an online comment about Chapter 18H, 18 state law. There's a list of state-listed protected plants that aren't endangered or threatened species that haven't been considered, that include all orchid species. So even the common lady slippers should be protected from destruction. They are considered a state asset by the DNR, and the DNR's practice in the past has been to move them themselves to prevent their getting into trade, but they do have a high value in trade. They are a state asset, and there is no plan to transplant or relocate this class of protected species, so I also have some of that documentation. Thank you.
Kate Poole has ceded her time to me. Hi, my name is Regina Turchik, and I'm originally from Alaska, and I go to the College of St. Benedict. I'm here to reject the replacement of Enbridge Line 3. The contribution of natural resource extraction threatens Indigenous lives first and worst. The proposed replacement of Line 3 goes through treaty territory and wild rice lakes important to Indigenous people's well-being. Not only does the extraction of tar sands immediately impact this geographical region, the carbon emissions will contribute to the warming of the Arctic, where many Indigenous communities in Alaska are falling into the ocean. These climate disasters caused by climate change disrupt the livelihood of Indigenous people by forcing them to react to climate change rather than proactively preserving and modifying their cultures and well-being. Please listen to us who tell you to deny this certificate of need of Line 3 replacement. Thank you. Regina Turchik, R-I-G-N-A-T-H-E-R-C-H-I-K.
Hello, my name is Ryan Franke. My name is spelled R-Y-A-N-F-R-A-N-K-E. I come here as a fellow human being with love in my heart, and I have tough love to give each and every one of you sitting in those immense seats of power. Valerie, Matt, Katie, and John. This is a huge decision for the earth, I'd like to think that I would make the decision easy for myself if I was sitting in your chair. And I have a hard time not judging you for making what I believe is an easy decision. But I understand my human experience is not your experience. So I guess what I can ask of you, what perhaps will guide you towards the direction of honoring the earth and all its relations, is connect. Connect with your family, connect with your friends, connect with the trees and the plants outside of your dwellings. Connect with your heart. Feel. And perhaps this decision will become clearer. I also want to add, I'm a farmer, a mushroom farmer, and without clean water, I can't grow mushrooms, food. I'm out of a job. All farmers without clean water are out of jobs. They can't pack produce, they can't wash produce, they can't grow crops. So I guess that's my self-interest with clean water. And this pipeline threatens clean water.
Thank you.
My name is Nina Berglund, and I will be the Brenna Dohenny's sign was ceded to me. So, I'm Betty Washday Madakiapi, Wanachi Tawachimpi Hemie, na Washituya Nina Berglund Hemachiapi. Hello, everyone. Good day. My name is Nina Berglund, N-I-N-A-B-E-R-G-L-U-N-D. I'm 20 years old, and I'm an enrolled member of the Northern Cheyenne Nation. And this is not my first time speaking in front of all you guys. I've seen you all before, and I'm sure you recognize my face. It's been a couple years now since we've been talking about this pipeline. I was sitting in front of you when you guys made that decision last year to approve the pipeline. You looked us in our faces and told us that this was in the best interest of the entire state, when we constantly told you time and time again it was not. How many times do you have to be told by the Anishinaabe people, by the Dakota people, by just the residents of Minnesota that this is not right? You should not approve this pipeline. You should not approve the EIS. You should not. How many times do I have to tell you? How many times do I have to come up here and cry to your face? Because you guys did it to us. You guys are showing the youth that it's okay to put profit over people, when we have constantly told you that we will not allow it. So I can come up here and read you all the facts, all of the numbers, but I can only come up to you and talk to you as a young woman, a young Lakota woman. I think about all those young women right now whose families are out looking for them. That's what's going to happen here, and it already is happening here. That's going to come with Line 3. So by you approving this pipeline, for you approve these permits, you're allowing our women to go missing. Think about the young women now whose names are barely in the headlines. I'm here to stand and protect on behalf of my future generations. I'm here on behalf of my people, I'm here on behalf of my family, and I'm here to tell you, to demand you, that I'm not asking anymore, that you need to deny this pipeline. You cannot let Enbridge continue to hurt our people, because it has been proven time and time again that this pipeline should not be built. Do not approve the Line 3 pipeline.
Thank you. We're going to be in recess now until approximately 1 o'clock.